Chapter 26. An hour later. While Nian and Li Qingyan were catching up on their sleep, a group of people walked in quickly. The leader was a middle-aged man and woman with tired faces. The middle-aged man's name is Li Xian, and he is Li Qingyan's father. As soon as Li Xian entered the ward, he hurried to the bed and said in a trembling voice, "Qingyan, are you okay?" Li Qingyan was already awakened by the voices of this group of people. She quickly stood up and shook her head gently. Li Xian looked at Nian on the hospital bed again, and saw that Nian's hand was covered with a plaster, and his face darkened. "What's wrong with Nian's hand?" Li Qingyan's lips trembled slightly and she whispered, "I was beaten by those bad guys and my bones were broken." Hearing this, the middle-aged woman next to Li Xian's eyes turned red and she said angrily, "You beast, you beat even a child." This is Li Qingyan's mother, Lu Yuehua. As soon as he finished speaking, a voice sounded from behind that seemed to be regretful, but was actually gloating, "Those people are really bad. They don't even let children go. I don't know if these hands can be used normally in the future. My cousin's life has been hard to begin with. Now that Nian has lost her hand, it will be even harder in the future." Well. Hearing this gloating voice, Lu Yuehua's face suddenly darkened. She turned back suddenly and said fiercely, "Li Rumen, if you can't speak, just keep your mouth shut. No one will think you are mute." Li Rumen is Li Qingyan's cousin and her uncle's daughter. Ye Wuwei looked at Li Rumen and frowned slightly. Why does this woman have such a mean mouth? Li Rumen crossed his arms and snorted coldly, "What's wrong with me telling the truth? Think of your good intentions as a donkey's liver and lungs. I'm also feeling sorry for my cousin. Li Rumen has an average appearance and has been jealous of the naturally beautiful and very intelligent Li Qingyan since he was a child. Li Qingyan can easily get favored by others. And she had to pay twice the price to get it. What made her even more jealous was that Zhao Fenjian, the son of the Zhao family, also had a crush on Li Qingyan. The Zhao family's influence in Longcheng, and even in Zhangzhou as a whole, is unimaginable. If Li Qingyan really marries Zhao Fenjian, then she will really fly up a branch and become a phoenix. Life is changeable. What surprised Li Rumen was that when Li Qingyan was about to graduate from university, she suddenly became pregnant, and the child was not Zhao Fenjian's. As for who was the person who got Li Qingyan pregnant, the Li family had been asking for a long time. But Li Qingyan just didn't say anything. Asked her to abort the child, she refused. The old lady of the Li family was furious, claiming that Li Qingyan had ruined the family, and directly expelled Li Qingyan and her family from the Li family. Since then, Li Rumen seemed to have seen an opportunity to turn around. She spared no effort to attack Li Qingyan, making things difficult for her at every turn. Li Qingyan's incident quickly spread throughout Longcheng. She became a laughingstock in Longcheng after dinner, and people talked about her wherever she went. People's words are as fierce as tigers. Forced to have no choice, Li Qingyan left Longcheng and lived in Zhongcheng, raising the child by herself. Li Qingyan gritted her teeth and looked at Li Rumen, and said coldly, "Cousin, I didn't expect you to care about me so much. Why didn't I feel it when I lent money to Nian for treatment before?" When Li Qingyan was in the most difficult time, she knew that she would be ridiculed if she called Li Rumen to borrow money. However, in order to treat Nian, Li Qingyan still made a call. "What does your dignity mean compared to your daughter's life?" At that time, Li Qingyan called Li Rumen 3 times, but the latter hung up on them all. After Li Qingyan gave up, Li Rumen pretended to fight back. Not surprisingly, Li Rumen did not borrow money. "It's okay if you don't borrow money, but you also say that wild children have no blessings, maybe they are destined not to live long." Li Qingyan was so angry that she cried. "I didn't dare to cry too loudly for fear of being heard by Nian." Li Rumen sighed softly, "Cousin, don't blame me, I was short of money at the time. You know that my living standard is very high, my expenses are very high, and I really have no savings." Speaking of this, she rolled her eyes, looked at Ye Wuwei, smiled and said, "Cousin, I heard that Nian was detained by those bad guys, how did you rescue her? 1 million is not a small amount." Li Qingyan had a cold face and said coldly, "You don't have to worry about it." Li Rumen's eyes squinted, he stopped pretending, and said in a sinister manner, "You don't need to take care of me. Do you think I want to take care of you? I'm just afraid that you will do something unscrupulous again and ruin the reputation of our Li family. Although your family has been expelled from the Li family by grandma, if you break your bones and connect your tendons, if you do something scandalous, others will still talk about our Li family behind our backs. Although our Li family has declined, we are still among the third-rate families in Dragon City. If our Li family's reputation is damaged because of you, just wait and see. Li Rumen put her hands on her hips, looking as fierce as a shrew. Li Qingyan's eyes turned red, and she said angrily, "Can you tell me clearly, what's so unfair?" Li Rumen, I hate people like you who gossip behind your back the most. Li Qingyan has tolerated Li Rumen for a long time. I have been in Zhongcheng for the past few years and have never been back to Longcheng. When we meet now, Li Rumen is still so venomous, and all the past grievances come to mind. Li Rumen smiled disdainfully, talk behind your back? I said it in front of you, okay. 1 million, how did you come up with it? Moreover, this ward is the highest end special care ward. Isn't it because someone is keeping him? When I came in, I saw a lot of people standing outside, and there was a man in this room. Isn't this because they are watching you to prevent you from running away? Tisk, tisk, I brought a child, I didn't expect it to be so valuable. This ward was arranged personally by Lu Pianan, the governor of Zhongzhou, so it was natural. People's words are like knives. These vicious words struck Li Qingyan's heart like a knife. Li Qingyan's eyes were red, and she gritted her teeth and said, I'll tear your mouth off. Li Rumen dodged and said in a strange tone, Look, I exposed your inner thoughts and became angry from shame. I advise you not to do anything, but I will fight back. 2 bodyguards came out and stood beside Li Rumen, one on the left and the other on the right, looking at Li Qingyan coldly. It seems to be saying, give it a try? The fierce looks of the bodyguards made Li Qingyan tremble in fright. This look reminded her of the members of the Black Dragon Gang in Zhongcheng. Don't be afraid, I'm here. At this time, a soft voice appeared in Li Qingyan's ear. Li Qingyan looked sideways and saw that Ye Wuwei had come to her side. Ye Wuwei looked at Li Rumen and the 2 bodyguards indifferently, and said coldly, come in. As soon as the words came out, Ye Lu and others who were at the door of the ward rushed in immediately. Drag these 2 things out. Hearing this, Ye Lu and Bing each grabbed a bodyguard and ran away like a little chicken. The 2 bodyguards still wanted to resist, but as soon as their bodies moved, a cold air locked them, frightening the 2 bodyguards to death. Thinking of what he said to Li Qingyan before, Ye Wuwei added, communicate well and convince others with virtue. Understood. Ye Lu and Bing shouted in unison. They understood what Ye Wuwei meant, people had to clean up, but no wounds could be seen on the surface. Ye Wuwei looked at Li Rumen again and said, Yeju, control this woman. Yeju pressed his palm on Li Rumen's shoulder, and the latter couldn't move instantly. After doing this, Ye Wuwei looked at Li Qingyan and said softly, give her a few slaps to vent out all the grievances. Don't worry about the consequences, I'll support you. Li Qingyan gritted her teeth and nodded, striding forward. Li Rumen looked at Li Qingyan threateningly, and said with a stern expression, how dare you? However. Crack. Crack. Li Qingyan raised her hand and slapped her twice loudly. Li Rumen was stunned. She never expected that Li Qingyan would actually dare to hit herself. Chapter 27. Stop. A loud roar of thunder sounded. A middle-aged man walked in from the door angrily. This person is Li Rumen's father and Li Qingyan's uncle. Li Tianming. He just saw a secretary of Zhongzhou Governor Lu Pianan downstairs and went to say hello shamelessly, so he came a step late. Unexpectedly, as soon as he entered the door, he saw Li Qingyan beating Li Rumen. Dad, save me quickly. They were all crazy. It hurt me so much when they beat me. Seeing Li Tianming coming, Li Rumen instantly had a backbone. She cried with tears all over her face and asked Li Tianming to take revenge. Li Tianming walked over with a cold face, looked at Li Xian, and said harshly, second brother, you have become more capable. You must have arranged for these murderers to be here beforehand. I didn't lend you any money, so you still hate me so much. Li Tianming directly put the blame on Li Xian's head. Li Xian is Li Qingyan's father and is responsible for Li Qingyan's actions. Hearing this, Li Xian looked a little ugly. No matter what, my daughter took action. Lu Yuehua took the conversation and said in a cold voice, brother, you must speak with your conscience. With our current economic situation, can we still afford to hire people? Li Tianming snorted coldly, no money. How dare you hit someone if you don't have money? If your daughter hits someone, you have to pay compensation. One slap costs 20,000 yuan, and the compensation is 40,000 yuan. Otherwise, call the police and let the security bureau handle the matter. Li Tianming was furious. He knew that Li Xian's family had no money now, so he deliberately forced them. Lu Yuehua angrily said, "No money." Li Tianming smiled coldly, "Then you just wait until Li Qingyan is arrested and sent to jail." Li Xian and Lu Yuehua trembled when they heard they were going to jail. 20,000 is a slap, right? Smoke lightly, then hit, and make up for them. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was stunned. The person who spoke was none other than Ye Wuwei. Li Tianming glared at Ye Wuwei angrily, "Who are you?" Ye Wuwei didn't bother to answer his words and ignored him. Li Rumen said fiercely, "Dad, he is Li Qingyan's wild man, and he is standing up for Li Qingyan." Hearing the word wild man, Li Qingyan became angry and took a step forward, wanting to slap her face again. Li Tianming quickly stood in front of his daughter, shouting with a stern tone, "How dare you! If you still dare to take action, I will make you miserable." Lin Ta, who was standing aside, took a step forward and sneered, "I would like to see how you can make us walk around without food." Several other divine envoys took a step forward at the same time and looked at Li Tianming coldly. Although they didn't show any momentum, the fierce look in their eyes scared Li Tianming to the core. You. I'm warning you not to mess around. The governor of Zhangzhou is in the hospital. If you dare to take action, please ask Governor Lu to arrest you all immediately." Although he only saw the secretary of Zhangzhou Governor Lu Pianin, it did not prevent Li Tianming from raising the banner of Zhangzhou Governor. He deliberately said it as if he was familiar with Lu Pianin, just to scare Ye Wuwei and others. However, not to mention Ye Wuwei, not even the divine envoys took Lu Pianin seriously. Ye Wuwei said coldly, "Then call Lu Pianin over and see if he dares to arrest me. Is the governor of Zhangzhou very powerful?" It was his honor to have a few words with Ye Wuwei. Seeing that Ye Wuwei dared to call Lu Pianin by his first name and threatened that the governor would not arrest him, Li Tianming, Li Xian, Li Rumen, Lu Yuehua and others all thought he was crazy. In Zhangzhou, Governor Lu is the most powerful person in the world. His words are Jiangzhou's policy. Arrogant. Madman. You wait. Li Tianming didn't dare to offend such a crazy person, so he quickly dragged Li Rumen out of the ward. As for the hatred of those two slaps, I can only endure it for now. Outside the ward, Li Rumen covered her face with humiliation and said unwillingly, "Dad, are you going to let them go like this?" Li Tianming shook his head, "I can't swallow this breath either. I just saw Governor Lu's secretary. That lunatic doesn't take Governor Lu seriously, so let's ask Governor Lu's secretary to come forward and deal with him. Let's see how long he can continue to be arrogant. In addition, contact the security bureau immediately. They must be arrested and detained for a few days." Li Rumen nodded and immediately took out his cell phone to make a call. Li Qingyan's two slaps were so hard that Li Rumen's face was swollen and there were clear fingerprints. Seeing this, Li Tianming asked, "Buy some ointment and apply it on your face. Don't let this affect your marriage. You and Wei Dong are engaged tonight, and our family will be completely proud. When the old lady celebrates her birthday in a while, she will definitely designate me as the head of the Li family." The Wei Dong that Li Tianming mentioned was the legitimate son of the Wei family, a second-rate family in Longcheng. In order to get into the Wei family, Li Tianming put in a lot of effort. In the ward, as soon as Li Tianming and Li Rumen left, the room suddenly became quiet. Yeju and others voluntarily left, leaving space for Ye Wuwei and others. After what happened just now, Li Xian and Lu Yuehua had guessed Ye Wuwei's identity. "Are you the one who caused my daughter to have a child out of wedlock and was ridiculed by the entire Dragon City?" Li Xian's face was very ugly, and he was suppressing his anger. Ye Wuwei nodded shamefully, "It was an accident back then, and I didn't know about it." Lu Yuehua's face was filled with frost, "You didn't know?" With a single word, my daughter's 6 years of youth were wiped away in one stroke. Irresponsible men like you, please don't appear in front of me again. Do you know how precious these 6 years are? She should have had greater achievements and should have been looked up to by countless people. But look at what she looks like now. This is all your fault. Once upon a time, both Li Xian and Lu Yuehua had high hopes for Li Qingyan. I feel that my daughter will definitely be able to get ahead and move into a wider world. But something like that happened, making her the laughingstock of the entire Dragon City. Ye Wuwei was silent and speechless. Li Qingyan saw that Ye Wuwei was speechless and said in a low voice, "Mom, please stop saying a few words." At the most critical moment, it was Ye Wuwei who saved Nian Nian and me from the tiger's mouth. He joined the army at the beginning, and he couldn't come out after entering the secret army. He doesn't know that I gave birth to Nian Nian. Later he went abroad to start a business. I don't blame him. In Li Qingyan's heart, she had never blamed Ye Wuwei. It was her own choice to give birth to Nian Nian, and she is responsible for her own choice. Li Qingyan, you are still stubborn. Don't you want to think about how much you have suffered over the years? Don't you want to think about how much your father and I have suffered because of you? Your dad is still working hard now. No one dares to ask me to work in a restaurant, so I can only pick up garbage and sell it. In order to lend you money, your father and I knelt down at your uncle's house, but no one paid any attention to us. You're a heartless person, and you're still talking to outsiders. Lu Yuehua shed tears and cried. After being expelled from the Li family, Li Xian and Lu Yuehua stayed in Longcheng and lived a very difficult life. Although she hates her daughter for not living up to expectations and having a child out of wedlock. However, in order to collect the 1 million ransom, the two of them still went around begging for help, encountered many obstacles, and even knelt at Li Tianming's house all night. They were still at Li Tianming's house when Li Qingyan reported to them that they were safe. The reason why Li Tianming and Li Rumen followed was because they heard that Li Qingyan was safe and had come to Dragon City, so they came over specifically to watch the excitement. Li Qingyan pursed her lips, her face filled with guilt, and she could no longer speak. Ye Wuwei raised his head and said solemnly, "Uncle, Aunt, I'm sorry for what happened in the past. I promise the two elders that I will get back the dignity that Qingyan has lost and make her someone that everyone in Longcheng will envy and look up to." Lu Yuehua pursed her lips, who doesn't know how to say nice things. We are not children, so we are not that easy to coax. If you are really capable, let your actions speak for itself. Ye Wuwei nodded, "No problem. Then I'll wait and see." Lu Yuehua crossed her arms and looked at Ye Wuwei. The first impression Ye Wuwei gave her was negative images such as crazy, impulsive, arrogant, etc. In Longcheng, I dare not take Zhangzhou Governor Lu Pianan seriously. There is definitely something wrong with my brain. Secretary Lu, the guy who disrespected Governor Lu is inside. Don't let him go. At this time, Li Tianming's voice sounded outside the door. Hearing the sound, the expressions of Li Xian, Lu Yuehua and Li Qingyan changed drastically. Li Tianming actually invited Governor Lu's secretary. Chapter 28. The door of the ward. Li Tianming is in front and Secretary Lu is behind. Li Tianming looked excited, with a mocking smile on his lips. Although Secretary Lu is just a secretary, he is the secretary to the governor of Zhangzhou. It only takes one word from Secretary Lu to control you. Li Tianming didn't notice that Secretary Lu behind him had a very interesting expression when he saw Ye Lu and others at the door of the ward. Li Tianming doesn't know Ye Lu or the other divine envoys of the Temple of Punishment, but Secretary Lu does. Before, outside the Zhao family, Secretary Lu had been following Zhangzhou Governor Lu Pianan and watched the whole process. The overwhelming power of the Temple of Punishment has been deeply imprinted in his mind. Sensing the eager eyes of Ye Lu and others, Secretary Liu's calves felt weak. Li Tianming, this BD, has caused me so much trouble. Secretary Lu bit the bullet and walked into the ward with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. Secretary Lu, that's him. He instigated others to control my daughter and restrict my daughter's freedom in life. The group of people at the door are accomplices. As soon as he entered the ward, Li Tianming pointed his finger at Ye Wuwei. Secretary Lu followed Li Tianming's finger and almost peed on the spot. He roared in his heart, "Li Tianming, UBD, do you want to kill me? He is the master of the Temple of Execution who just destroyed the Zhao family. You even dare to kill the Qingyan god of war. How the hell do you have the guts to point your finger at him?" Secretary Lu was so frightened that his heart was trembling, and his thoughts were racing in his mind. He knew that although Li Tianming could not be said to be very smart, he was definitely not a stupid pig. If Li Tianming knew that this person was someone that even the governor of Zhangzhou would not dare to provoke, he would never behave like this. The only explanation is, Hall Master Ye did not reveal his true identity. No matter what the reason is, you must cooperate with Hall Master Ye. As the secretary of Zhangzhou Governor Lu Pianan, Secretary Liu's ability to observe people's emotions is extraordinary. After clarifying the relationship, Secretary Lu slapped Li Tianming's hand and scolded, "Li Tianming, point your finger at others, do you have the quality?" Being reprimanded in front of so many people, Li Tianming's old face felt a little uncomfortable. However, due to Secretary Liu's identity, Li Tianming could only swallow this bitter pill. With an old red face, he changed the subject and said, "Secretary Liu, the point is this person." Hearing this, Li Qingyan stood in front of Ye Wuwei and said coldly, "It was Li Rumen who hurt people with his bad words first, but it is not entirely our responsibility." Li Tianming snorted coldly, "Don't worry, you are the one who did it, and you can't run away." Lu Yuehua quickly helped, "Secretary Lu, it's his daughter who is mean-mouthed and deliberately provokes her, otherwise she wouldn't take action. Although she doesn't have a good impression of Ye Wuwei, she must be consistent with others at this time." Secretary Lu ignored everyone, walked quickly to Ye Wuwei, and said politely, "Mr. Ye, are you satisfied with the ward arranged for you? If there are any problems, they can be adjusted at any time." The reason why Secretary Lu is at the First People's Hospital is that he is on standby here under the order of Zhangzhou Governor Liu Pianan. Li Tianming just found him and said that someone was making trouble up there and was rude to Governor Liu. Secretary Lu was worried about affecting the daughter of the Lord of the Temple, and at the same time wanted to see who was so crazy, so he followed. Otherwise, with Li Tianming's identity, he would not be able to hire Secretary Lu. Now seeing that the person Li Tianming accused was Ye Wuwei, how dare Secretary Lu put on any airs? Even the governor of Zhangzhou must be careful when talking to Ye Wuwei, let alone him. Secretary Liu's polite tone instantly made everyone else's jaws drop. Li Tianming looked at Ye Wuwei in confusion as if he had been struck by lightning, his mind going blank. Li Xian, Lu Yuehua and Li Qingyan looked at Secretary Lu in shock, with shock on their faces. Secretary Lu is someone close to Governor Liu, right? Why are you so polite to Ye Wuwei? Moreover, according to what he meant, he personally arranged this special care unit. Good. When Li Qingyan and others were shocked, Ye Wuwei's voice sounded. Ye Wuwei's face was calm and unfazed. Hearing this, Secretary Lu, who was feeling stressed, breathed a sigh of relief. However, Ye Wuwei's next words instantly made his hair stand on end. "Are you here to stand up for him?" Ye Wuwei said with an unkind expression. Secretary Lu was sweating heavily from behind. He quickly shook his head and said cautiously, No, Mr. Ye, don't get me wrong. I heard that someone was making trouble on the floor of the special care ward. I was worried that it would affect your daughter, so I came to take a look." Ye Wuwei looked at him and said calmly, "It's okay here, you can go." "Okay." Secretary Lu felt as if he had been granted amnesty, and his tense heartstrings relaxed. Seeing Secretary Lu walking out quickly, Li Tianming, who had come to his senses, shrank his neck and did not dare to pester him anymore. Even Secretary Lu was so polite, how dare he say anything else? Li Tianming was shocked, and decided to inquire about Ye Wuwei's details first, and then make further considerations after understanding it clearly. Before the two of them walked out of the ward, Li Rumen's voice came in, "Dad, the security bureau is here. My 2 slaps cannot be in vain, I must make them pay the price." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Rumen walked in with several people wearing security bureau uniforms. Ye Lu and others stood at the door leisurely, looking at Li Rumen jokingly, as if they were looking at a clown. Seeing this, Secretary Liu's eyelids jumped wildly. Li Tianming, this BD, has something hidden. This father and daughter really have a FG brain problem. They are giving me eye drops. If Hall Master Ye thought this was arranged by himself, things would go wrong. Secretary Lu turned his head to look at Li Tianming, with a gloomy expression on his face, and said in a deep voice, "Li Tianming, you are fine." Li Tianming's heart trembled, he was speechless and speechless. Secretary Lu looked at Li Rumen coldly and said to several security bureau personnel, "Follow the normal procedures and make separate records." Through previous conversations, he knew that the problem most likely lies with Li Rumen. Not long after, the transcript was completed. Secretary Lu waved his hand, pointed at Li Rumen and said, "Maliciously insult others and disrupt public order, take her away." Li Rumen struggled wildly and said angrily, "Why? I was the one who was beaten, why should you arrest me?" Secretary Lu said coldly, "Those with bad mouths will enjoy the handcuffs first." Li Tianming grimaced and quickly begged, "Secretary Lu, don't arrest her. My daughter is going to attend the engagement party tonight, she can't be absent. Secretary Lu didn't answer and walked out of the ward directly. Li Rumen was also taken away. Before Li Tianming walked out of the ward, he glanced at Ye Wuwei in fear, full of regret. Secretary Lu was originally invited by him to take care of Ye Wuwei. Unexpectedly, he shot himself in the foot. After Secretary Lu and others left, the eyes of Li Qingyan and 3 others all fell on Ye Wuwei. Lu Yuehua and Li Xian's eyes changed when they looked at Ye Wuwei. I got to know Secretary Lu and asked him to arrange the special care ward. This guy doesn't seem to be that bad. Boss, come out, someone is looking for you. Yeju's voice sounded outside the door. Ye Wuwei smiled at Li Qingyan, then stood up and came outside the ward. Outside the ward, a man wearing a special combat uniform stood upright like a javelin. This person is the captain of the elite Qinglong guard team lurking in the hospital. The captain handed an envelope to Ye Wuwei and said, Palace Master Ye, Lord God of War asked me to deliver it to you. Ye Wuwei took the envelope and tore it open. There were only 6 words, Evening, Sleeping Dragon Villa. Ye Wuwei narrowed his eyes. The 4th meeting only started in the evening? It seems that he mobilized a lot of manpower. Chapter 29. Clung Villa is located in the suburbs of Longcheng and is sparsely populated. If we take action there, it will have little impact on Dragon City. Ye Wuwei could see that the 4th seat was fully prepared for the battle. After the captain of the Azure Dragon Guard left, Ye Wuwei called the divine envoys in front of him and quickly made many arrangements. The 4th seat was well prepared, and Ye Wuwei naturally could not be so arrogant that he could remain indifferent. Afterwards, the gods quickly left the hospital. Ye Lu and Yeju also left with their mission. Ye Wuwei crushed the letter into powder and walked back to the ward. As soon as I walked in the door, Lu Yuehua took the lead and asked, Ye Wuwei, what do you do? The man who just came to you seems to be a soldier. Those brothers of yours are as vicious as the underworld. Did you commit something and be targeted by the army? Lu Yuehua was curious about what secrets Ye Wuwei had, and just took a peek at the door. You won't know if you don't look at it, but you will be shocked when you look at it. There was actually a man dressed like a soldier who came to see Ye Wuwei. In Lu Yuehua's view, the people around Ye Wuwei did not look like good people. Naturally, it would not be a good thing for the soldier to come looking for Ye Wuwei. Li Xian looked at Ye Wuwei nervously and said, you shouldn't be engaging in any terrorist activities abroad or joining some illegal organizations. You are being investigated. As soon as these words came out, both Lu Yuehua and Li Qingyan's hearts skipped a beat. Ye Wuwei shook his head, none of them. It's just that someone asked me to meet tonight to talk about something. Li Xian and Lu Yuehua looked suspicious and doubtful. Although Li Qingyan was a little confused, she still chose to side with Ye Wuwei and said, Dad, Mom, please stop being suspicious. I want to tell you something very solemnly. Lu Yuehua put away her doubts and said, what's the matter? Li Qingyan took the initiative to grab Ye Wuwei's hand and said seriously, I want to marry him. We have already discussed it, in the future. The words were not finished. Lu Yuehua forcibly interrupted Li Qingyan's words and said angrily, I don't agree. I only met him once and don't understand anything. How can I trust you to marry him? What if he disappears for a few more years? I feel like he has a lot of secrets hidden in him. He might harm you in the future. Are you willing to kill yourself? Li Xian's eyes widened and he scolded, don't open your mouth and talk nonsense. Immediately, he looked at Li Qingyan and Ye Wuwei with a serious expression, Ye Wuwei, I don't know much about you, and I don't want to make random guesses. Qingyan has had a very difficult life these years. Her life has been unable to withstand too many storms. She really can't bear it anymore. Ask yourself, can you really make her life better if you and Qingyan are together? Can you really give her happiness? The words just fell. Lu Yuehua said angrily, that Li Rumen is not as smart as my Qingyan, not as beautiful as my Qingyan, but now he can get together with the eldest son of the Wei family. We're getting engaged tonight, and I heard we're getting married early next month. The wedding venue has been decided, and it's the ridiculously expensive Dragon City No. 1. If Qingyan hadn't happened a few years ago, her life would be at least several times better off than Li Rumen's now. More than 10 years of expectations finally turned into disappointment. Lu Yuehua has always been brooding about it and cannot let go. Ye Wuwei held Li Qingyan's hand tightly and said seriously, Uncle, Aunt, I swear on my life that I will make Qingyan happy. Over the years, I have saved some money from starting a business abroad. I will fully support Qingyan in doing what she wants to do, whether it is starting a business or going to work, I will fully support her. Qingyan did spend 6 years, but there are still many 6 years in the future. I will always support her until the end of her life. I have asked people to prepare a grand wedding of the century. It will definitely be 100 or 1,000 times better than Li Rumen's wedding. Ye Wuwei spoke very seriously, and his true feelings were beyond words. Li Xian and Lu Yuehua were both infected at first. It wasn't until Ye Wuwei said that he wanted to prepare a wedding of the century that was 1,000 times better than Li Rumen's that he immediately frowned. Lu Yuehua frowned and said, "Do you know what Dragon City number 1 is? There's nothing to do there. You can't even get in. Rich people won't accept you. The cost of a wedding is sky high." The toad burped so loudly. How much savings do you have to dare to say such big words? Ye Wuwei thought for a while, shook his head and said, "There are many industries, but there are no specific statistics." Lu Yuehua. Does this mean there is too much money to count? Li Xian sighed and didn't want to say anything. The two looked at each other and labeled Ye Wuwei as unreliable. Lu Yuehua rolled her eyes and said, "Ye Wuwei, if you can really do what you say. Not only do I apologize to you, but I will never interfere with you and Qingyan in the future. I will bring you food to the table, and I will light the fire for you when you smoke." "Mom!" Li Qingyan interrupted Lu Yuehua speechlessly. Li Xian also looked at Lu Yuehua helplessly. Ye Wuwei nodded solemnly, "Okay. You." Seeing that Ye Wuwei dared to agree, Lu Yuehua was speechless for a moment. Okay, if you can't do it, leave Dragon City and never bother my daughter." Lu Yuehua didn't believe Ye Wuwei could do it. Li Xian patted Lu Yuehua's hand and signaled the latter to stop talking. Then he looked at Li Qingyan and said, "Let's go back to cook and deliver it later. Take good care of Nian and try to be discharged from the hospital as soon as possible." After saying that, he took Lu Yuehua and left the ward. After the two left, Li Qingyan said softly, "Ye Wuwei, my parents sometimes don't speak well, but they are not bad-hearted." Ye Wuwei smiled gently, "I understand uncle and aunt have grievances. I will use practical actions to change their view of me." Li Qingyan breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Ye Wuwei did not take the unpleasant words his parents said to him to heart. Ye Wuwei looked at the hospital bed and said with a smile, Nian, are you still pretending to be asleep?" Nian on the hospital bed suddenly lifted the quilt and exclaimed, "Dad, how did you find out?" "Because I have special powers." Ye Wuwei walked to the bed and said proudly. Nian immediately looked at Ye Wuwei with admiration and pestered the latter to tell him what his special function was. Ye Wuwei adapted some of the mysterious events he had experienced and told them so vividly that even Li Qingyan was fascinated. The sunlight passed through the window and gently caressed the skin of the three people. Li Qingyan looked at Nian, who was fascinated, and then at Ye Wuwei, who was talking enthusiastically. She gently opened her palms and looked at the bright light in her palms, her eyes a little moist. Was everything that happened yesterday the darkness before dawn? Everything seemed a little unreal, and she was really afraid that it was a dream. In a joyful atmosphere, the family of three spent a pleasant morning. At noon, Li Xian and Lu Yuehua brought meals. Although the two of them didn't have much favorable impressions of Ye Wuwei, they still brought a portion to Ye Wuwei. After dinner, when Ye Wuwei went to throw out the trash, he suddenly received a text message. The interrogation of Zhao Fenjian has come to an end. The poison on Nian's body is indeed related to him. Behind Zhao Fenjian, there is an organization called Source. Ye Wuwei narrowed his eyes and immediately ordered someone to bring Zhao Fenjian near the hospital. He wanted to know the specific situation for himself. Chapter 30. An hour later, several powerful men from the Temple of Punishment took Zhao Fenjian to a basement near the hospital. In the ward, Ye Wuwei looked at Li Qingyan and said softly, "Qingyan, did you drop your mobile phone in Zhongcheng? I'll go out and buy you a mobile phone." This morning, Li Qingyan used Ye Wuwei's mobile phone to report that he was safe. Li Qingyan nodded, "Don't buy something too expensive, as long as it works." Over the years, she has become accustomed to frugality. Ye Wuwei smiled without comment. For his woman, he must use the best. Nian, Dad is going out for a trip and will be back soon." Ye Wuwei kissed Nian's pink cheek. Nian nodded, "Dad, you should come back soon, I will miss you." Ye Wuwei nodded with a smile and walked out of the ward. After walking a few steps, Nian Nian's childish voice sounded from behind, "Dad, why don't you kiss Mom?" As soon as these words came out, Li Qingyan immediately blushed and quickly covered Nian Nian's mouth. Ye Wuwei slowly turned around, looked at Li Qingyan with a smile, and said, "I forgot." Li Qingyan blushed and waved her hands quickly, "Let's go, come back early." Ye Wuwei stood there motionless and didn't speak, looking at Li Qingyan with a smile. Nian Nian also looked at Li Qingyan with big eyes. She wanted to speak, but her mouth was covered. The gazes of the father and daughter made Li Qingyan's face blush more and more intensely, and even her ears turned red. Li Qingyan looked at Ye Wuwei angrily and said shyly, "Let's go." Ye Wuwei shook his head. After a few seconds of confrontation, Li Qingyan rolled her eyes, turned her head slightly, and turned her face towards Ye Wuwei. The meaning is self-evident. At the same time, her other hand reached above Nian Nian's eyes to block the little guy's sight. Seeing this, Ye Wuwei walked quickly to Li Qingyan and stuck his head out. However, the kiss was not on the face, but on the red lips. Li Qingyan's eyes widened and she looked into Ye Wuwei's eyes in disbelief. "This BD. This is in front of my daughter. I am not afraid of teaching bad things to children." A different kind of excitement made Li Qingyan's heart beat fast. Ye Wuwei smiled and raised his eyebrows, and then left calmly. The moment he walked out of the ward, the smile on his face gradually disappeared. In the ward, he is a father and a husband. Outside the ward, he is the lord of the Temple of Killing. If you dare to hurt his daughter, you will be shattered to pieces. In the basement near the hospital, Zhao Fenjian was covered in blood, his face was bruised and swollen, and he had long since lost his human appearance. "I know, I've said everything. Please, let me go." Hearing this, the two temple killing experts who were guarding Zhao Fenjian had cold eyes and did not answer. "Still want to live? I want to eat shit." If Ye Wuwei hadn't ordered Zhao Fenjian to be killed, the two powerful men of the Temple of Punishment would have spread his ashes based on what Zhao Fenjian did. Dong dong dong. Heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs. The two temple killing experts faced the stairs at the same time and bowed respectfully, "Palace Master." In the shadows, Ye Wuwei walked over with a cold face. Looking at the extremely miserable Zhao Fenjian, Ye Wuwei's eyes flashed with cold light. Without saying a word, he pulled up a chair and sat in front of Zhao Fenjian. Although there was no explosive momentum, Zhao Fenjian's body had begun to shake. The invisible pressure had already made Zhao Fenjian breathless. "Tell me what happened." Finally, Ye Wuwei spoke, his voice cold and biting. A strong man from the Temple of Killing said in a deep voice, 6 years ago, Zhao Fenjian left Daxia to study in the empire on which the sun never sets. It should be because he came from a prominent family, and he was targeted by an organization called Yuan just after he passed there, and he was developed into a member of the organization. However, he has always been an ordinary member there. Apart from receiving some training, he has not received any tasks. The source organization may want him to return to Daxia before he can play a role. A year ago, Zhao Bolin was promoted to the Great Xia God of War. Zhao Fenjian also received attention because of this. He was quickly promoted within the source organization and came into contact with a poison used for human experiments. After that, Zhao Fenjian used the power of the source organization to poison the little princess. Secretly, someone from the original organization has been recording the little princess's data. At the beginning of this year, Zhao Fenjian was sent back to Daxia with a total of 2 tasks. First, steal Daxia's confidential information through Zhao Bolin. Second, closely observe the physical data of the little princess. According to his confession, so far, the only person who can persist under the poison for such a long time is the little princess. The source organization feels that the little princess's physique is extraordinary and deserves special attention. As the temple killing man narrated, the basement became more and more depressing. Not to mention Zhao Fenjian, even the 2 temple killing experts felt like they had a thorn in their backs at this moment. Zhao Fenjian knelt on the ground, his body shaking like he was suffering from epilepsy. The clothes on his body were soaked with sweat. Sweat flowed into the wound, and bursts of stinging pain continued to stimulate his nerves, as if there were hundreds of millions of poisonous insects biting his body, which was extremely painful. Despite this, he still didn't dare to make a sound. He felt that the person sitting in front of him was not a person, but a ferocious beast from hell. At this time, Ye Wuwei's face was as dark as water, and the look he looked at Zhao Fenjian did not look like a person, but a disgusting beast. So, if you set up a trap for Qingyan this time, getting her is only secondary. Observing my daughter closely is your main purpose. The dosage will even be increased to test her body's limits." Ye Wuwei's voice was cold, and the strong murderous aura was solid, stinging Zhao Fengyun's skin. Zhao Fengyun was shocked. He never expected Ye Wuwei to guess so accurately. He didn't dare to speak, the floor beneath him was already wet with sweat. The next second. Bang! Zhao Fengyun's body flew out like a cannonball and hit the wall heavily. His body was even embedded in the wall. Ye Wuwei retracted his leg and said coldly, "Have you explained the method of contacting the source organization?" The strong man from the Temple of Killing frowned slightly and said, "They are very hidden, and the time and method of contact are not fixed. At present, we can only keep this BCH alive." Ye Wuwei glanced at Zhao Fengyun and said coldly, "It doesn't matter, I don't want this beast to die too easily. Keep him alive until we successfully establish contact with the source organization and find their stronghold hidden in Daxia. In addition, inform the intelligence department to track down information about the source organization outside the territory. If there are any clues, report them to me immediately." The kick he just kicked had shattered all the bones in Zhao Fengyun's body, leaving him with only one breath left. And this source organization has also entered Ye Wuwei's must-kill list. When the headquarters of the source organization is found, it will be the day they are destroyed. Yes. The bodies of the two temple killing experts were shaken and they respectfully accepted the order. Ye Wuwei left the basement, went to the nearest Huapei mobile phone store, and bought Li Qingyan a mobile phone that had just been launched. On the way back to the hospital, he called Ye Lu, "How are you handling it over there?" If he wants to live in Longcheng permanently, he naturally needs to control the local forces in Longcheng so that he can do things more conveniently. The tasks that Ye Lu and Yeju received before. It is to gather the largest underground forces and business groups in Dragon City. Chapter 31. Dragon City. West of the city. Fei Yang Group. Chairman's Office. Ma Fei Yang, the founder of Fei Yang Group, has a great reputation in Longcheng and has to give face to both black and white. At this moment in his office, he looked nervous and sweating profusely. Yeju sat on the boss's chair with a cold expression. Ye Lu was sitting on his desk, playing with a knife and manicuring his nails slowly. At Ma Fei Yang's feet, a big man with a sinister face lay lying on his back. The big man groaned and begged for mercy, "I'm done, uncle, I'm done." If a local in Longcheng saw the big man like this, he would probably be shocked. This is the king of Dragon City, Wang Biao, who is famous throughout Dragon City and almost no one except the Zhao family dares to offend him. Wang Biao started his business by selling cement and river sand. Anyone who dares to do this business has to do some violence. Wang Biao is one of the best. He seized the opportunity and gradually became a real estate tycoon in Longcheng. It is said that 1/3 of the real estate in the entire Dragon City is related to him. Therefore, the title King of Earth came into being. Wang Biao himself is very powerful, and his security team has more than 10,000 people. He never said that he was an underground force, but no one in Longcheng's underground forces dared to provoke him. The notorious Wang Biao was begging for mercy while sweating profusely. If anyone else saw this, their outlook would probably be shattered on the spot. Ma Fei Yang wiped the cold sweat on his head and said in a trembling voice, "Sir, I am willing to surrender to you. The entire Fei Yang group will obey your orders from now on. It's impossible not to surrender." Not long ago, Ma Fei Yang was drinking tea in the office when Ye Lu and Yeju barged in directly. Yeju carried a huge amount of assets and threatened to acquire Fei Yang Group. You know, apart from Zhao Feilong's Feilong Chamber of Commerce, Fei Yang Group is the largest business group in Dragon City. Zhao Feilong is a member of the Zhao family, a wealthy family in Dragon City. With the Zhao family's huge background, Fei Yang Group is naturally incomparable. However, Ma Fei Yang relied on his own ability to get to where he is today step by step. He was so arrogant that he didn't even take the second-rate families in Longcheng seriously, so he naturally didn't take Ye Lu and Yeju seriously. So he asked the bodyguards to drive Ye Lu and Yeju out. He didn't expect that Ye Lu's bodyguard team, which he spent a lot of money to build, would be knocked down with just one move. Afterwards, Ye Lu and Yeju were not in a hurry to discuss the acquisition and asked Ma Fei Yang to call Wang Biao over. For Wang Biao, Ye Lu and Yeju had the same request, asking him to surrender. Wang Biao has always been unruly. After living in Longcheng for so many years, he has never bowed his head to anyone except members of the Zhao family. He flatly refused and challenged Ye Lu. The results are clear. He was defeated after only one kick. Seeing Ma Fiyang surrendering, Wang Biao quickly got up and said respectfully, "Master, what do you call me?" Ye Lu said calmly, "The surname is Yat, and the single name has the character Lu." Wang Biao smiled apologetically, "It turns out to be Mr. Lu. Master Lu, your martial arts skills are unparalleled. I am convinced. I am willing to listen to Master Liu's orders from now on." As soon as the words came out, Yeju, who was sitting on the boss's chair, said coldly, "Submit. You'd better be convinced. If you are dissatisfied with your mouth and heart and miss what I want to explain, the Zhao family will be your fate." I heard the word Zhao family. Ma Fiyang and Wang Biao trembled at the same time, and then looked at Ye Lu and Yeju in horror. With the energy of Ma Fiyang and Wang Biao in Longcheng, they naturally knew what happened to the Zhao family last night. I heard that the Zhao family encountered a powerful enemy last night, and the head of the Zhao family, Zhao Wuji, invited thousands of warriors into the Zhao family to help. Zhao Wuji's sons all returned to the Zhao family to help out. The eldest son, Zhao Bolan, is the god of war in Daxia. The second son, Zhao Filong, is the richest man in Zhangzhou. The third son, Zhao Yinhu, is the third most important person in Dragon City. Even this lineup could not prevent the collapse of the Zhao family. So how terrifying is the enemy that the Zhao family faces? This was beyond the imagination of Wang Biao and Ma Fiyang. Now, the person who destroyed the Zhao family is actually right in front of him. In an instant, an invisible pressure fell on the shoulders of Wang Biao and Ma Fiyang, making their legs weak. Be convinced, be convinced. If you have any tasks, just give me your orders. Even if you have to go up a mountain of swords and go down into a sea of fire, I won't even blink. After so many years of ups and downs, Wang Biao and Ma Fiyang both know one thing. Risks and opportunities go hand in hand. If you don't handle things well for these two people, the consequences will be serious. But if it is done well, then the opportunity to rise to great heights will come. Seeing that the two of them had such good attitudes, Ye Lu nodded with satisfaction and said, "The richest man, Ma, I want to prepare the most grand wedding of the century. The venue, personnel, props, etc., will be arranged for me as soon as possible." Hearing the words Ma's richest man, Ma Fiyang and Wang Biao looked at each other, and their hearts trembled. Obviously, the former richest man Zhao Filong is dead. Ma Fiyang nodded hurriedly and said respectfully, "Don't worry, Mr. Lu, I have 100,000 employees under Fiyang Group, and we will definitely have enough manpower. Starting today, all departments of the entire group will work together to ensure the completion of Lu Yi's mission. The design plan will be handed over to you as quickly as possible." Wang Biao was afraid of falling behind, so he quickly expressed his position, "Sixth Master, then I will coordinate the materials and other issues. If there's anything missing, Brother Ma, tell me directly. In addition, my security team can maintain order and ensure that no one disrupts the construction schedule." Both of them behaved very actively, fearing that the other would behave better. Ye Lu put away the knife and said seriously, "Then give me the plan as soon as possible. We can start construction after my elder brother confirms it. Don't worry, if you do things for us, your benefits will be indispensable." Hearing this, Ma Fiyang and Wang Biao were ecstatic. Sure enough, an existence of this level would not make people work in vain. Ma Fiyang straightened his neck and said seriously, "What did Mr. Six say?" "It is our honor to serve Mr. Six." Wang Biao nodded in agreement, "Being able to serve the sixth master is a blessing I earned in my previous life." With that said, Wang Biao bowed deeply to Ye Lu and Yeju, and said with gratitude, "The Zhao family is the cancer of Longcheng. They have done a lot of things that make people angry, and they pretend to be benevolent and righteous on the surface. On behalf of the entire people of Dragon City, I thank Mr. Lu for eliminating one harm." Ma Fiyang looked at Wang Biao in surprise, feeling like he got to know Wang Biao again. "I've never seen this guy be so good at flattering me before." Ye Lu smiled playfully and said calmly, "Doing things well is more important than anything else." As soon as these words came out, Ma Fiyang and Wang Biao nodded. At this time, Ye Lu's cell phone rang, and Ye Wuwei called. "How are you handling it over there?" Ye Lu kept his body still and said solemnly, "Boss, it's all done." "Ye Wuwei, that's good, come to the hospital as soon as possible. I'm going to Sleepy Dragon Villa later. You will be responsible for the safety of Nian Nian and Qingyan then. Yes. Ye Lu responded respectfully. Seeing this scene, Ma Fei-yang and Wang Biao looked at each other in horror. There is someone on top of this extremely powerful Lu yet. What a terrifying existence that must be. Chapter 32. After Ye Lu and Ye Ju left, Ma Fei-yang and Wang Biao collapsed on the sofa, breathing heavily. Ye Lu and Ye Ju put too much pressure on them, causing their nerves to be tense all the time, and they didn't even dare to breathe too hard. Once the two of them left, they felt alive again. Ma Fei-yang took a sip of tea and asked with lingering fear, Brother Wang, what is the force behind Master 6? You have a wide range of paths, have you heard any news? Wang Biao shook his head, the War Department has very strict control, and no one has been found yet. I only know that several groups of strong men arrived at the Zhao family last night, and even the War Department couldn't stop them. In addition, many people around the Zhao family have heard these 4 words. Ma Fei-yang leaned forward with curiosity on his face, what 4 words? Wang Biao, meet the Palace Master. Palace Master? Ma Fei-yang's heart trembled and he said in shock, this must be a force from outside the territory. Dragon City is in the middle of Daxia. Did they break into Dragon City all the way? Didn't the War Department's branches in various places stop them? Wang Biao nodded solemnly, it should be. The power behind Master 6 is astonishing. At this time, a burly man in a black suit hurried into the office and whispered a few words in Wang Biao's ear. Wang Biao stood up suddenly and exclaimed, kill the temple. Are you sure? The burly man nodded heavily, absolutely. Many people near the Black Dragon Gang's lair heard it, but they were strictly ordered not to spread it to the outside world. Now that the Black Dragon Gang has been wiped out, the top brass of the Wang family in Zhongcheng are almost dead. Zhongcheng was under martial law last night, and Wang Biao naturally knew about it. Therefore, people were sent to Zhongcheng early to find out inside information. At this time, when he heard the inquiring information, Wang Biao's expression kept changing, which was very exciting. After a long time, he came back to his senses and shouted, this news, as of now, will never be allowed to spread. Yes. The burly man nodded solemnly and walked out of the office. Ma Fei-yang looked at Wang Biao with curiosity and said nervously, Brother Wang, what are you talking about? Wang Biao's face was full of shock and he exclaimed, you don't know that it is normal to kill the temple. I happened to hear these 3 words when I visited a second-grade martial arts master. I heard that the temple of execution is extremely terrifying outside the territory, killing all the powerful forces on their backs. Not even any country dares to provoke the god of punishment. The martial arts master talks about the temple of punishment with admiration. Master Lu is the one who killed the temple. Moreover, the powerful lord of the temple of punishment came to Dragon City in person last night and destroyed the Zhao family. Wang Biao's scalp went numb when he thought of the legend of killing the temple. Unexpectedly, Zushan Temple actually asked me to do something for him. Hearing what Wang Biao said, Ma Fei-yang's breathing became rapid. He picked up the teacup, wanting to take a sip of tea to calm down his shock. But his arms wouldn't obey his orders and kept shaking, causing the tea to spill on the floor. Ma Fei-yang said nervously, could the person who just called Mr. Lu be the master of the Temple of Punishment? Wang Biao's eyes bulged, he swallowed and said in a trembling voice, it's possible. If this is a wedding prepared for the Lord of Temple killing, we will be under great pressure. Upon hearing this, Ma Fei-yang threw away the blue and white porcelain teacup that he usually regarded as a treasure, grabbed the phone, and yelled, all department heads should go to my office immediately for a meeting. If the 3 minutes are not up, get out of here immediately. Wang Biao did the same thing. He picked up the phone and started shouting, mobilizing his subordinates. The preparations for the wedding of the century have begun in full swing. Evening. Longcheng First Hospital. After Ye Wuwei said goodbye to Li Qingyan and Nian Nian, he walked out of the ward. Outside the ward, several Qinglong guards had been waiting for a long time. One of them said seriously, Mr. Ye, the car has been arranged and is at the door. Yes. Ye Wuwei nodded lightly and strode away. The entrance of the hospital. There were several camouflage off-road vehicles parked. 2 Qinglong guard soldiers stood waiting at the door of the car. Many people watched from afar, curious about what happened. Under the gaze of many people, Ye Wuwei and several Qinglong guard soldiers walked over. Not far away, Li Rumen and a young man stepped out of a sports car and happened to see the scene. This young man is Wei Dong, the legitimate son of the Wei family who will be engaged to Li Rumen tonight. After Li Rumen was taken away by the security bureau, Li Tianming tried many methods but couldn't get him out. In the end, they had to ask for help from the Wei family, and they spent a lot of money to fish out Li Rumen. Since there were still 2 faint slap marks on his face, in order not to make a fool of himself at tonight's engagement party, Li Rumen hurried to the hospital as soon as he was released to seek urgent treatment. If you put on makeup before the engagement party, you will definitely not be able to tell. Seeing Ye Wuwei being surrounded by several Qingyan guard soldiers and getting on the off-road vehicle, Li Rumen thought Ye Wuwei had been arrested. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Retribution. Weren't you crazy before? Li Qingyan, no one can support you now. Wei Dong next to him narrowed his eyes and said coldly, is he the man who bullied you? Li Rumen nodded heavily and said bitterly, that's him. Wei Dong's eyes were gloomy, I hope he can still be released. If you dare to touch my woman, see if I can kill him. Li Rumen felt happy and excited. She said delicately, we must not let him go. By the way, Li Qingyan can't let it go easily, she was the one who did it. Wei Dong nodded proudly, feeling confident in his heart. There is no one he can't deal with. Rest assured. Don't let anyone go. You can deal with them whatever you want. Li Rumen excitedly waved his fist and said fiercely, I would like to invite Li Qingyan's family to the engagement party tonight. I want to make her look good in front of my family and friends. How dare you go back to Longcheng, I will make her afraid to come back in the future. Li Rumen was confident that Li Qingyan and his family could attend the engagement banquet. She knew that Li Qingyan's father, Li Xian, had an obsession, which was to return to the Li family. Wei Dong nodded, okay. Li Qingyan used to be the laughingstock of Longcheng. Wei Dong wouldn't mind adding a little more fun to the engagement party tonight. Chapter 33. The outskirts of Dragon City. Clung Villa has been taken over by the Zhangzhou War Department. All nearby streets are under control and vehicles passing by can only make detours. Along the way, tanks were parked on the side of the road, and all the War Department soldiers were armed and ready. The off-road vehicle stopped outside the gate of Clung Villa. Ye Wuwei got out of the car and looked around. The scenery was pretty good. Hidden in the surrounding mountains and forests are groups of warriors with powerful auras. These people have stern eyes and resolute faces. They are all military masters who have experienced actual combat among the border troops. The combat effectiveness of these military masters cannot be compared to the soldiers from various regional war departments within Daxia. Soldiers with blood on their hands have a completely different temperament. Ye Wuwei moved his eyes and finally stopped at the archway of Clung Villa. Sleep Dragon Villa. Ye Wuwei curled his lips, this name was a bit interesting. Under the archway of Clung Villa, Qinglong God of War Hai Bopping and a group of senior military officials have been waiting for a long time. Hai Bopping clasped his hands into fists and said in a deep voice with martial artist etiquette, Master Ye, I've been waiting for a long time, please come. After saying that, he raised his hand on one side of his body. Ye Wuwei nodded, with a calm expression, and walked into Clung Villa first. Seeing this, all the high-level officials from the War Department looked slightly surprised. What a confident man! Alone, he can still be so calm. You know, this Clung Villa has now gathered countless powerful people from Great Xia. Anyone you pull out is a famous person. With Ye Wuwei's strength, it was impossible not to discover it. Under such circumstances, he can still be so calm, which is truly courageous. At this time, the sun was setting in the west. The dim sunset dyed the clouds on the horizon red, adding a touch of color to the mountains and forests. Ye Wuwei walked slowly on the stone road, his shadow stretched very long. Hai Bopping admired Ye Wuwei for being so calm. If it were him, it would never be so easy. There are many powerful people hidden in Clung Villa, and Ye Wuwei naturally knows them all. Not only was he not worried, but he was able to enjoy the scenery leisurely and elegantly. The scenery here is really good. I can bring Nian to play in the future. Walking through the stone road, a lake appeared in front of Ye Wuwei. Next to Clung Villa is Longjiang, which nourishes the tens of millions of people in Longcheng. The water in this lake is directly diverted from Longjiang River. The lake is very large, and there is an artificial platform in the middle of the lake. In the center of the platform, there is a small pavilion. With Ye Wuwei's eyesight, he could naturally see the name of this lake center pavilion at a glance, Suolong Pavilion. In the Suolong pavilion, there was an old man standing with his hands behind his back to Ye Wuwei, looking at the Longjiang River in the distance. This person is none other than Shang Keoch, the fourth adjudicator of the Great Xia Elder Council. There is a small boat by the lake. If you want to see the pavilion in the middle of the lake, you have to take the boat. The person holding the boat was an old man, wearing a raincoat and a bamboo hat. He was sitting on the bow and taking a nap. Hearing the footsteps, the old man looked up at Ye Wuwei and grinned, "Young man, do you want to take a boat?" Ye Wuwei smiled lightly, "Don't sit down. This bottomless boat of yours cannot carry me." The old man looked kind-hearted, but his words contained a hint of wit. "If you don't take a boat, you can't get to the lake pavilion." "Really?" Ye Wuwei asked back. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped towards the lake. The water in the lake shook, causing ripples and circles. Soon, a burst of energy came from Ye Wuwei's feet, and the lake surface instantly became as flat as a mirror. Ye Wuwei stepped on the water and walked step by step towards the pavilion in the middle of the lake. The old man on the boat narrowed his eyes slightly and plunged the oar into the water. In an instant, the lake water around the paddle began to roll, and a 1-meter-high water wave rolled towards Ye Wuwei. Ye Wuwei continued to move forward as if he didn't notice. When the water wave was only 1 meter away from Ye Wuwei raised his foot and stepped heavily on the water. With him as the center, an invisible air wave spread to the entire lake. The old man's expression changed, and he held paddles in both hands, trying to resist the oncoming force. Crack! The oar broke into 2 pieces. The bottomless boat also collapsed directly. The old man turned over nimbly and landed on the shore. Looking at Ye Wuwei's back walking away gracefully, the old man sighed softly, "The future generations are terrible." Hai Bopping looked strangely at the sight and said, "Old fisherman, I just told you not to do anything to show off your power, so now I believe you." The old man glanced at him and nodded, "I believe it. Don't call me if anything happens in the future." After saying that, the old man took the broken oar and turned around to leave. Hai Bopping opened his mouth, feeling helpless. Despite his age, this old man still has such a bad temper. However, complaints were complaints, and Hai Bopping still respected the old man in his heart. This old man is a famous and powerful man from the previous era, the fisherman from the East Daxia Sea. Some people even call him the gatekeeper of the East Daxia Sea. The fisherman from the East Daxia Sea wanted to give Ye Wuwei a show of strength and suppress his arrogance. As a result, stealing the chicken will end up losing the rice. His own ships were bombed. Other side. Ye Wuwei had just set foot on the island in the middle of the lake. 20 or 30 people suddenly appeared by the lake in the distance, clasping their fists towards Ye Wuwei and shouting, "Old squad leader!" Seeing the special battle uniforms these people were wearing and the masks on their faces, a flash of reminiscence flashed in Ye Wuwei's eyes. This is the man from Dragon Teeth. All 3 brigades of Longya came. Ye Wuwei also understood the meaning of Shang Keoch. He exposed Longya's people from the beginning and did not let them lurk in the dark. It was not a demonstration, but an emotional card. Shang Keoch hopes Ye Wuwei can have a good talk and not start a war. Shang Keoch couldn't say these words, he could only express his feelings through actions. Ye Wuwei nodded towards the Longya crowd and entered the Locking Dragon Pavilion. Entering the pavilion, Ye Wuwei looked at Shang Keoch's back and said calmly, "The 4th seat is really brave, and he dares to meet me alone." Shang Keoch turned around slowly and looked at Ye Wuwei deeply. Although he is old, he is still full of energy, with white hair standing straight and bright eyes. What surprised Ye Wuwei was that there was no anger in Shang Keoch's eyes, but instead a look of appreciation. "Sit." Shang Keoch pointed to the stone bench opposite and sat down on his own. His tone was easygoing, as if he were talking to a junior in his family. Ye Wuwei was slightly surprised and sat down as he was told. Shang Keoch poured a cup of tea for Ye Wuwei and said, "I don't like to beat around the bush, just tell me your purpose directly." Ye Wuwei stared into Shang Keoch's eyes and said solemnly, "I want all the details of the death of the previous 4th seat. And details of all the departments investigating the matter that year. After the previous 4th seat died mysteriously. Ye Wuwei and others left Daxia to investigate outside Daxia. Within Daxia, there are also many people investigating. But the final result turned out to be nothing, and nothing was found. Someone must be hiding something from the truth." Shang Keoch's face darkened and he flatly refused, "Impossible." The departments investigating that matter covered a wide range of areas, and they were all special departments. If all the information is really given to Ye Wuwei, then there will be no secrets left in Daxia. Ye Wuwei stood up directly and said coldly, then there's no need to talk. Shang Keoch's expression remained unchanged and he was still sitting on the stone bench. But there was movement in the woods on the shore. A violent momentum suddenly burst out and shot straight into the sky. A burly man in military uniform appeared on the shore, with a thunderous voice, and shouted, Chen Xian, I have met Master Ye. I advise Hall Master Ye to have a good talk. Ye Wuwei narrowed his eyes slightly. Chen Xian, one of the 4 war gods guarding the northern border of Daxia, Suanwu War God. Chapter 34. Suanwu God of War. Chen Xian is not the god of war who is forcibly mentioned like Qingyan God of War Zhao Bolan. The 4 war gods named after the ancient mythical beasts are all accomplished by fighting on the battlefield and cannot be mixed with any water. A cold light flashed in Ye Wuwei's eyes, and he said in a cold voice, Are you threatening me? Suanwu God of War Chen Xian did not give in and said loudly, Master Ye, you can think so. In an instant, a smell of gunpowder spread between the two. At this time, a loud shout came from a hill in the south, Are you worthy of threatening my elder brother? Then, a violent momentum shot straight into the sky, strong winds blew, and all the clouds in the sky were shaken away. A mighty man with a strong physique and muscles on his body stepped on the treetops and rushed into Kunlong Villa at high speed. He was very fast and had no time to intercept. Occasionally, a strong man flew up, but was directly blown away by the mighty man with a palm. When he came to the small lake, the big man looked at Suanwu God of War coldly. Boom boom boom. Terrifying and invisible energy burst out from both of them at the same time, and they collided in the air. The energy collided to form strong winds, blowing the surrounding trees with a roar. Suanwu War God's expression changed slightly, and he shouted coldly, Who are you? The big man folded his hands on his chest and shouted, My lord, the power of heaven. His voice was as thick as thunder, making many people with lower strength feel dizzy. God's power. As soon as this name came out, the expressions of many warriors hiding in the dark changed wildly. This is the power of heaven, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Temple of Punishment. At the same time, the area where Tianwei was before. One by one, the powerful men from the killing temple who were hiding nearby appeared and rushed straight to the Clung villa. Looking around, it was completely dark and filled with people. The overwhelming momentum seemed to overthrow the world. The expressions of the masters in the group of troops guarding outside the villa changed drastically. They knew that the powerful men from the Temple of Punishment were nearby, but they didn't expect that so many people had gathered. The charge of thousands of temple-killing warriors shook the earth and made people's hearts tremble. Many military experts came forward to intercept and were directly beaten away. They were too scattered and had no time to concentrate in a short period of time, making it impossible to intercept them. A group of powerful people from the Temple of Killing rushed to the lakeside like a broken bamboo. Everyone faced Ye Wuwei, their eyes were wild, they bowed and saluted, and shouted, See the palace master. The rolling sound waves were deafening, and even the air was vibrating and distorting. Ripples appeared on the lake, and countless leaves fell in the forest. Swish, swish, swish. The strong men scattered around the villa quickly gathered and came to the lake to confront the people of the Temple of Punishment from afar. These people have different costumes and obviously come from different ancient martial arts families. Some of them are particularly powerful and outstanding. These people flew up and landed heavily not far from Suanwu God of War. An old man holding a sword in one hand clasped his fist towards Ye Wuwei and shouted, Li Tiangang, the capital of God, has met Lord Ye. Li Tiangong's voice is clear and penetrating, implying the sharpness of a sword. Hearing this person's name, everyone in the ancient martial arts family looked shocked. Even Qinglong God of War Hai Bopping was a little surprised. It turned out to be Li Tiangang, who has the title of Sword God. Only the 4th seat knows which heavyweights the 4th seat has invited, not even the gods of war. A man in black robe not far from Li Tiangang raised his hand to Ye Wuwei, his voice was low and hoarse, like rusty gears rubbing, which, I have seen Hall Master yet. As soon as this voice came out, the scalps of countless powerful men went numb. The group of masters from the Ye family who were closest to Wu quickly retreated and distanced themselves. The Miao Wizard King. Even the Miao Wizard Emperor was invited. It is rumored that people who provoke the Witch King die without knowing how they died. Suanwu War God Chen Suandu glanced at Wu in surprise, feeling surprised in his heart. The Miao Emperor rarely leaves Miao territory, but this time he listened to the transfer of the fourth seat and came to Longcheng. The one closest to Wu was a heroic woman with a fierce look in her eyes. This person is also the only woman among the 4 war gods of Daxia, the White Tiger war god Zhan Wushuan. White Tiger god of war Zhan Wushuan hugged his fists towards Ye Wuwei and said, "Ye Wuwei, we meet again." Among the 4 war gods, comparatively speaking, the White Tiger war gods Zhan Wushuan and Ye Wuwei are the most familiar. Because the Temple of God has relatively many actions in the western region, and the western region guarded by Zhan Wushuan borders the western region. Ye Wuwei and Zhan Wushuan had met several times from afar. Hearing this, Ye Wuwei nodded slightly towards Zhan Wushuan. As a result, there are already 3 war gods in the 4th seat, a sword god Li Tiangang, and a wizard king with strange methods. All 3 brigades of Longye were dispatched. There are thousands of masters in the army and many strong men from the Ye family. Such a lineup is more than enough to destroy a medium-sized country in the western continent. Looking at the martial arts masters all over the mountains and plains, Ye Wuwei smiled lightly. There are quite a few of them. After that, he snapped his fingers. The crisp finger-snapping sound has an incomprehensible penetrating power. No matter how far or near it is very clear when it rings in everyone's ears. Then, in the other 3 directions, thousands of terrifying auras shot straight into the sky, bursting out. The evil spirit. My dear, God is hurt. My lord, this is a heavenly sin. The voices of the 3 heavenly kings came from the air at the same time, and the mighty sound waves gathered in the sky above Suolong Pavilion and exploded. The lake water seemed to be boiling, with small water droplets splashing constantly. Boom boom boom. 3 loud bangs. The 3 heavenly kings descended from the sky and landed on the lakeside. Everyone was filled with murderous intent, and the terrifying murderous intent made many ancient martial arts masters feel their nerves stung, and they subconsciously wanted to quit. Outside the Clung villa, 3 groups of astonishing numbers of temple-killing powerhouses rushed from 3 directions. The momentum was also shocking and the earth was shaking. They did not rush into Clung villa, but stayed on the edge of the villa, vaguely surrounding the entire villa. At this point, all the 4 heavenly kings have arrived. The 9 great envoys did not come in, but were waiting for instructions outside with a group of powerful men from the Temple of Punishment. With the arrival of the 4 heavenly kings, the pressure on many military masters has doubled. The hearts of the powerful men from the major ancient martial arts families were beating wildly. The murderous aura and evil spirit on the 4 heavenly kings are so strong that it makes people's hair stand on end. This is definitely someone who has been wallowing in a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Suan Yu War God and White Tiger War God couldn't help but reveal their fighting intentions. This was the instinctive reaction of veterans on the battlefield. Sword God Li Tiangang squeezed the scabbard's hand slightly and his eyes became focused. The Witch King even took out a small box from his robe like a conditioned reflex, ready to take action at any time. The members of Longye's 3 brigades looked solemn and were ready for battle. The gathering of the 4 heavenly kings brought too much pressure to everyone. What's more, in the middle of the lake there is a person who is inconspicuous, but powerful in the world, the Lord of the Temple of Punishment. All the main combat forces of the Temple of Punishment have arrived. Chapter 35. An invisible fighting spirit swept through everyone's hearts. The strong men on both sides are already in place, and they are full of momentum. Before the fight begins, there is only one opportunity left. The battle is about to break out. Shang Keoch's expression changed slightly when he saw all 4 heavenly kings gathered. Daxia's intelligence department detected the whereabouts of Tianwei and Tianshang and tried to intercept them. However, the whereabouts of Tianxia and Tianxin were not discovered at all. The 4 heavenly kings are definitely strong men at the level of Emperor Wu. Tianxia might even be above Emperor Wu. And Ye Wuwei's strength is even more unfathomable. It's not a problem to defeat 2 war gods at will. If we really fight, even if we win, it will be a miserable victory. Although Clung Villa is located on the outskirts of the city, if so many powerful people take action together, Longcheng will definitely be affected. Shang Keoch looked at Ye Wuwei and said solemnly, "Sit down and let's talk." The 4 heavenly kings appeared at the same time, and the strong men of the Temple of Punishment around them were high in fighting spirit. Shang Keoch was under great pressure. He absolutely did not want to fight against the Temple of Death unless he had to. Ye Wuwei sat down slowly and said calmly, "My request remains unchanged." Shang Keoch shook his head directly, "Absolutely impossible." The departments that investigated the death of the previous 4th chairman were all Daxia's secret departments. If I give you the detailed information of those departments, the secret system that Daxia has been operating for many years will collapse directly. Ye Wuwei narrowed his eyes slightly, then there's no need to talk. Back then, 6 comrades who had known each other day and night died in front of him, and Ye Wuwei was extremely sad. He once thought that his plan was not perfect enough and that his command was not perfect enough. However, after persistent investigation, it was discovered that the failure that year was related to Daxia. The traitor hiding among Daxia's senior officials had already leaked their information. Ye Wuwei even suspected that the entire Lonja 1st Brigade was just an abandoned son. Over the years, Ye Wuwei's thoughts have been very thorough. The country he led to protect the Temple of Punishment was Daxia, and it was Qingyan. Rather than some ancient families or interest alliances that hold high positions and suck blood from Daxia. Daxia is the Daxia of Daxia people. Daxia is not a family-owned family. Some people's family values are too strong, and they even damage the interests of the entire Xia dynasty for the benefit of one family. Such people can be called country thieves. Ye Wuwei will never give up until the traitor and the power behind him are found out. Seeing Ye Wuwei's resolute attitude, Shang Keoch stared at Ye Wuwei's eyes, his eyes flashed and he was silent for a long time. For a long time, he looked calm, as if he had made some kind of determination. The two sides are already at war with each other, their nerves are tense, and there is a possibility of taking action at any time. The overwhelming power released by the strong men on both sides continued to collide in the air, forming a whirlwind. You must show sincerity and give a message of sufficient weight. Otherwise, it would be difficult to settle this matter today. Shang Keoch took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Your purpose is to complete the last mission when you left Lonja and find the truth about that year. I can provide you with a list and you can search according to the list. Don't ask who those people are, don't ask what positions they held, I can't say. You have your advantages, and there are things that only you can do." Hearing this, Ye Wuwei took a serious look at the current 4th seat for the first time. Of course he doubted the 4th seat, but the target of suspicion was not only the 4th seat. According to his understanding, the truth about what happened back then could not be found, and after it was settled, Daxia held a group of people accountable internally. The list Shang Keoch gave him was most likely those who were held accountable back then. Of course, it is also possible that Shang Keoch wanted to use him as a sword to eliminate dissidents. Seeing that Ye Wuwei was silent, Shang Keoch said frankly, "I know you doubt me and don't believe me. But I can tell you that the previous 4th seat saved me 3 times, and I owe him 3 lives." Having said this, Shang Keoch put his finger into the teacup, dipped some tea in it, and wrote a line of words on the table. Seeing this, Ye Wuwei's pupils shrank and his eyes moved to the white tiger god of war and others by the lake. Then, he looked carefully at the lines written by Shang Keoch. Wolong, 4208. There's something behind this. Wolong is a legendary figure spread in Lonja. He was the most trusted person in the previous 4th seat. Ye Wuwei once contacted Wolong while performing a secret mission. 4208 is the secret language connecting Ye Wuwei and Wolong. That time, Ye Wuwei led people to eradicate a secret organization that had been entrenched in Daxia for many years. By the way, an ancient family with great influence in northern Daxia was involved. But when Ye Wuwei led people to the family had been wiped out with blood. Ye Wuwei never expected that the once extremely mysterious Wolong would be the 4th seat in front of him. These 4 words, there is a ghost behind it. Let Ye Wuwei understand that the Dragon Lock Pavilion is not locking him, but the 4th seat. Among the strong men brought by the 4th seat, there seems to be a watcher. Ye Wuwei didn't completely believe the 4th seat, so he dipped his fingers in some water and wrote a series of numbers on the table, testing it with the secret language he once used. Shang Keoch looked calm and dealt with it calmly. The two stopped talking and wrote with water. Everyone by the lake looked at this scene in surprise, wondering what they had written. After a few minutes, Ye Wuwei confirmed Shang Keoch's identity. He was the legendary figure codenamed Wolong. Wolong has many identities, real and fake, and no one has ever known his true identity. According to Ye Wuwei's guess, Wolong should be a member of the mysterious Guardian of Daxia. Shang Keoch took the initiative to reveal his identity at this time, which was his trust in Ye Wuwei and was also the most straightforward explanation. In this way, Ye Wuwei figured out some doubts. No wonder the way the 4th seat looked at him when they first met, there was a sense of admiration in his eyes. The promotion of Zhao Bolin to the Qingyan god of war should be based on his own plan. At this moment, Ye Wuwei regretted killing Zhao Bolan. This may have disrupted the arrangement of the fourth seat to some extent. After being silent for a while, Ye Wuwei said seriously, I can accept your proposal. But, I have strings attached. Shang Keoj remained calm and said calmly, speak. Ye Wuwei waved towards the lake. 6 powerful men from the Temple of Punishment came out holding 6 wooden boxes. Seeing these 6 wooden boxes, the 4 heavenly kings all looked sad. The comrades who were once so tall and strong, with ambitions and courage as high as the sky, are now placed in this small box. Ye Wuwei looked at the 6 boxes with moist eyes and a low voice, 3 years ago, I took them out of Daxia. Now, I want to send them back. Give them the status of martyrs and send them home. Even though I am used to seeing life and death. But these brothers who died in battle will eventually be a source of regret for him throughout his life. As soon as these words came out, the eyes of everyone in Lonja's 3 brigades turned red. Back then, Ye Wuwei left Daxia with his comrades on a top-secret mission that they would never return to. At that time, all their identity information was erased. Shang Keoj nodded, okay. However, this matter can only be done secretly, otherwise their families may be in danger. I know. Ye Wuwei nodded. Hearing this, Shang Keoj looked at the man standing at the front of everyone in Lonja by the lake and said, Zalong, welcome them back. The man is now the captain of the 1st Battalion of Lonja, codename Zalong. Zalong took all the Lonja staff and quickly walked towards the people of the Temple of Punishment. At this moment, there was no tense situation and everyone was silent. The 6 temple killing masters holding the wooden box burst into tears. They are also from Daxia and were once warriors of Daxia. Everyone in Longya came to the front of the wooden box, straightened their bodies, and neatly performed a military salute to the wooden box. Then, he carefully took the wooden box. Just when they were about to turn around and leave. Wait a moment. A strong man from the Temple of Punishment stopped everyone. Under the confused gazes of everyone in Lonja, this person took out the national flags of Daxia that he had prepared in advance and covered them on the wooden box one by one. This is the glory that only martyrs can have. All of you, salute. Killing everyone in the temple, their actions are uniform. Including Ye Wuwei and the 4 heavenly kings, everyone saluted the wooden box. Other side. Hai Bopping sighed and shouted, all of you, salute. After saying that, he straightened his body and saluted towards the other side of the lake. By the lake and in the mountains and forests, all the masters of the Great Xia army moved in unison. They represent all Daxia warriors and take the wandering souls home. Chapter 36. See this scene. The sword god Li Tiangang of Shendu and the warriors from all the major ancient martial arts families were all moved. This should be the romance unique to Daxia warriors. Let's go, take them home. Zalong shouted deeply, his voice trembling a little. The eyes behind the mask are already red. Under the gazes of one after another, Lonja and the others escorted the wooden box away from the area where the strong men of the Temple of Punishment were located. Shang Keoj looked at the wooden boxes, sighed, then moved his gaze to Ye Wuwei, and said, what else do you want? Ye Wuwei gathered his emotions and said seriously, I will live in Daxia for a while. I don't like trouble, give me an identity where I can go unhindered. A gleam flashed in Shang Keoj's eyes and he said, okay. But the specific identity needs to be discussed. Try to give you an answer in the shortest possible time. That list will also be handed over to you as soon as possible. Shang Keoj had a premonition that Daxia was about to undergo a purge. He was somewhat looking forward to Ye Wuwei's next performance. Good. Ye Wuwei nodded, without any hesitation, and flew out of the center of the lake, arriving in front of everyone in the Temple of Punishment. The 4 heavenly kings gathered together. Tianxia was the first to speak and said, brother, is your niece okay? Ye Wuwei shook his head, it's okay for now. But there is a kind of poison in her body, which involves an organization called Source outside the territory. After leaving Daxia, we will do our best to track down the Source organization and dig deep to find it. Hearing this, the faces of the 4 heavenly kings turned cold. They did not expect that forces from outside the region would actually come to Daxia to cause trouble. And he also hurt the little princess of Zhu Temple. Don't worry, brother, I will personally take charge of this matter. Damn it, we must find it as soon as possible. I will personally lead people to destroy it. What a courageous dog. Everyone looked cold and filled with indignation. Ye Wuwei looked at Tianxia and said solemnly, Tianxia, you don't need to go outside the territory to investigate. During this period, you lead a team of people to lurk in Daxia and create a force. It will be of great use in the future. The name of Temple of Death is too loud. It is much more convenient to act under a new name in Daxia. Hearing this, Tianxi's eyes lit up. Is there any big move? Ye Wuwei nodded. Tianxia, what's your name? Ye Wuwei, God's punishment. There are many people who need to be tried and punished. Their interests are colluding and they are getting along so well that there is no one in Daxia to judge them. If this is the case, then we will carry out the punishment on behalf of God. Yes. Tianxia nodded heavily. Then, Ye Wuwei led everyone to leave Kunlong Villa. Outside Clung Villa, the 9 great envoys led all the powerful men from the Temple of Punishment and rushed over to join them. Nearly 30,000 powerful people from the Temple of Execution faced Ye Wuwei and shouted in unison, "See the Lord of the Temple!" The soaring momentum makes people break through the clouds in the sky. The waves of sound overlapped one after another, and even the mountains and rivers were shaking. Seeing this scene, countless strong men in the army sighed. With such a journey of tigers and wolves, it is no wonder that the Temple of Punishment can travel outside the territory. Ye Wuwei's eyes swept over everyone's faces and said solemnly, "Thank you for coming all the way. It's over here, leave quickly." "I obey." All the powerful men of the Temple of Punishment agreed loudly. At this time, Shang Keoch had already led a group of Daxia strongmen to the gate of Kunlong Villa. Looking at the strong men of the Temple of Killing with powerful auras, Shang Keoch said loudly, "Daxia has always seen the contribution that Zhu Temple has made to Daxia. Now that I'm gone, I wish you all a bright future and a prosperous military fortune." Qinglong God of War Hebo looked solemn and shouted, "Salute." As soon as these words came out, all the senior leaders of the War Department and the strong men in the army saluted everyone in the Temple of Punishment at the same time. The War Department knows best how much the Temple of Death has done for Daxia. These military experts know best how much pressure it has reduced for the border troops. Many people in the Zhu Temple are Daxia people, and many people were once Daxia warriors. The most touching thing is that they have no honors, no medals, no flowers, and no applause. They are actually greater than many people think. All the powerful men of the Temple of Punishment took a deep look at Qinglong God of War and others, and felt a little touched in their hearts. In the past few years, the Zhu Temple has been secretly escorting Daxia, and many people fell into brutal fighting in the dark night. There were also voices of doubt in the Temple of Punishment. But as long as Ye Wuwei gave the order, all doubts disappeared. And many people from Daxia who joined the Temple of Punishment did so because the Temple of Punishment could silently protect Daxia. At this moment, when I heard Shang Keoch's words, my heart was deeply touched. All this effort is worth it. The strong men of the Temple of Punishment looked at the vast rivers and mountains of Daxia with reluctance, and sighed in their hearts, "I don't know when I'll come next time." Then, everyone put away their ups and downs and dissipated like a tide under the guidance of the 9 divine envoys. Seeing this scene, Shang Keoch and all the senior leaders of the War Department finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was no fight. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Imperial Capital. Heavenly Palace. Everything that happened in Clung Villa was seen by the other 4 members of the Elder Council who were far away in the Imperial Capital. There was silence in the conference room. A look of disbelief flashed across everyone's faces. The God of Punishment actually retreated just like that. Ye Wuwei actually made a concession. Ye Wuwei's change of attitude occurred after he and Shang Keoch rode with water in Suolong Pavilion. The 4 elders frowned slightly, and the same doubt arose in their minds, what on earth did they write then? Everyone was ready for a war, but they didn't expect it to be resolved peacefully in the end. Outside Clung Villa, Ye Wuwei took a deep look at Shang Keoch, said nothing, and led the 4 heavenly kings away. The 4 heavenly kings will not leave immediately. The 4 of them all wanted to see Nian Nian and the little princess in the entire Zhu Temple. This time I came to Daxia because of her. We are on the outskirts of Dragon City right now, how could we not go and take a look? Ye Wuwei contacted Ye Lu and learned that after Li Qingyan took Nian Nian to Li Ruman's engagement banquet, she took the 4 heavenly kings directly to the wedding banquet. Chapter 37. Dragon City No. 1. As the most prestigious hotel in the entire Dragon City, luxury cars gathered outside Dragon City No. 1. Various high-quality license plates such as 666 and 888. If ordinary people can host a banquet at Dragon City No. 1, they will be praised for a year. Li Ruman and Wei Dong's engagement party was at Dragon City No. 1. Not only that, their wedding banquet at the beginning of next month is also scheduled at Dragon City No. 1. The Wei family is a second-rate family in Longcheng. As Wei Dong is the legitimate son of the Wei family, the Wei family will naturally hold a special event for this engagement party. Therefore, for this engagement banquet, the Wei family invited all the prominent people in Longcheng. First, it was to demonstrate the influence of the Wei family in Longcheng. Secondly, it is to take this opportunity to connect emotionally. Dragon City No. 1, 3rd floor. It was the place where the Wei and Li families held their engagement banquet. At this moment, guests and friends gathered together, and there were many winning friends. Most of the guests who came were guests of the Wei family. And they all have extraordinary status, whether they are business tycoons, famous martial arts masters, or prestigious dignitaries. Except for some relatives and friends, the Li family did not invite many guests, only a few tables of people. 3rd floor, banquet hall. Wei Dong led Li Rumen through the crowd and toasted to each distinguished guest. On a large round table in the front row, the Li family sat together, and the person in charge was an old woman. The old woman is Li Qingyan's grandmother and the head of the Li family, Zhang Chunlin. Since Li Qingyan's grandfather passed away, Zhang Chunlin has taken control of the Li family. Seeing Li Rumen's proud look, Zhang Chunlin smiled and nodded frequently, feeling very pleased. It is the Li family's blessing to be able to marry the Wei family. When Zhang Chunlin's eyes moved to a corner, the smile on her face gradually disappeared. There were only 3 people sitting at a table in the corner. Li Qingyan, Li Xian, and Lu Yuehua are a family of 3. Compared with the lively atmosphere at other tables, their table seemed very quiet, a bit embarrassingly quiet. Seeing Li Qingyan, Zhang Chunlin had mixed emotions. They are both granddaughters, but Li Qingyan has a higher starting point, better appearance, and is also smarter. However, it was she who made the Li family lose face and lose their head in Dragon City. But Li Rumen, who was worse in all aspects, could now make the Li family feel proud. Zhang Chunlin looked at her eldest son Li Tianming beside her and said, "Tianming, why are they here?" Hearing this, Li Tianming felt happy and finally asked about them. Li Tianming pretended to hesitate, and then said hypocritically, "Mom, my second brother has been having a hard time these years and has always wanted to return to the family. It's been so many years, why don't we let them come back? The children of Qingyan are already so old and have a lot of expenses in all aspects. After they come back, the family can help them." Zhang Chunlin frowned when she heard Li Tianming say, "The children are already so old." The memory of Li Qingyan becoming the laughing stock of Dragon City resurfaced again. "They come here to return to their family. Can you come back if you want?" Zhang Chunlin still had lingering anger in her heart. Li Tianming rolled his eyes and said, "Mom, it's been so many years, please don't be angry. Why don't you let their family come over and apologize to you so you can calm down?" Zhang Chunlin shook her head decisively, "Forget it." Li Tianming pretended to sigh with regret, but he smiled in his heart. Other side. Li Qingyan lowered her head and whispered, "Dad, Mom, let's go. I feel sick sitting here. Li Rumen and uncle will not be so kind to help us, they must have ulterior motives." Not long ago, Li Tianming sent a message to Li Xian, claiming that although he did not lend money to Li Xian, he also knew about Li Xian's difficulties. After all, they are brothers and decided to help him. Li Rumen got engaged tonight, and the old lady must be very happy. Invite Li Xian's family to the engagement party, and he will plead with the old lady while she is happy to let Li Xian's family return to the family. These words made Li Xian's heart skip a beat. Over the years, he had very few opportunities to see Zhang Chunlin. He only met briefly during family reunions during holidays. Even so, I couldn't speak. Zhang Chunlin never gave him a good look. Therefore, even though he knew that Li Tianming was most likely to have bad intentions, Li Xian still brought his wife and daughter over with a glimmer of hope to give it a try. If she could return to the family, Li Qingyan could work in the family business. By then, the salary will be several times that of outside, and Li Qingyan's burden will be much lighter. In addition, Li Tianming also told Li Xian a piece of news: Ye Wuwei has been taken away. In order to prevent his daughter from reacting too much, Li Xian hasn't told Li Qingyan yet. Hearing Li Qingyan's words at this time, Li Xian sighed softly, "Qingyan, I know everything you said. But I still want to try. Today is indeed a good opportunity. If we successfully return to the family, our life will be much easier. It doesn't matter if it doesn't succeed, we can just leave." Lu Yuehua nodded and agreed, yes, you won't lose much if you try. Feeling her parents' determination, Li Qingyan felt helpless. She wanted to persuade her, but she was speechless and couldn't say anything. Because returning to the Li family has always been the obsession of Li Xian and Lu Yuehua. They know that their abilities are mediocre, so they can only enjoy the shade by returning to the Li family and relying on the big tree of the Li family. At this time, footsteps sounded. Li Tianming strode over. He patted Li Xian on the shoulder and sighed, "Boy, I've tried my best, but Mom just won't let go. It's better for you to apologize yourself. She is in a good mood now. If you say a few nice words, maybe that will do the trick." After that, Li Tianming returned to his seat. Li Xian gritted his teeth and said nervously, "You guys wait for me here, I'll go talk to Mom alone. Even if it's embarrassing, it's only embarrassing for me." He has a somewhat weak character, but in order to make his family's life better, he decided to give it a try. Li Xian ignored Li Qingyan's obstruction, took the wine glass, and walked towards the table where everyone from the Li family gathered. Li Qingyan watched worriedly, her heart beating as fast as a drum. The banquet hall was noisy and she couldn't hear what Li Xian said. I only saw Li Xian toasting to Zhang Chunlin restrainedly, but Zhang Chunlin was indifferent. After that, the 7 ants and 8 ants at several tables around started to make noises. Li Xian's face gradually turned red, his waist became deeper and deeper, and his expression became more and more humble. Then, amidst the cheers, Li Xian drank one glass after another, and soon showed his drunkenness. See this scene. Li Rumen, who was not far away, touched Wei Dong's shoulder and chuckled, "Look, the show has begun. Li Qingyan is probably feeling extremely depressed. That Ye Wuwei has been captured, let me see who can still support her." Li Rumen didn't regard Li Qingyan's family as family at all. In her opinion, Li Qingyan's family had already been expelled from the Li family, and their loss was also a disgrace to them. Wei Dong nodded and smiled, "No matter how frustrated you are, you have to endure it." Back then, she left Longcheng and hid as soon as something happened. I didn't believe she dared to go to the main table. Li Rumen smiled and nodded, feeling that Li Qingyan did not dare to take any action. However, seeing that my father was in an ugly state, he was still drinking heavily. Li Qingyan gritted her teeth and stood up. Chapter 38. Li Qingyan pursed her lips tightly and tried her best to control her emotions. She lowered her head and came to Li Xian's side. Her voice was trembling, and she said in a trembling voice, "Dad, stop drinking, let's go." While speaking, Li Qingyan grabbed Li Xian's arm and tried to pull him away. Don't pull me, I can still drink." In the past, I was not optimistic about Qingyan, which brought shame to the family. I punish myself, 30 cups. This glass is for everyone. Li Xian was so drunk that he couldn't even speak clearly, but he still insisted on drinking. Li Qingyan took the wine glass by force, raised her voice and said, "Dad, stop drinking. They just entertain you. No matter how much you drink, it's useless." His father's humility made Li Qingyan's heart throb. If it weren't for my own insistence on going my own way, I wouldn't be in the current situation. Hey, isn't this Qingyan? He has changed. Even at such a big age, he doesn't know how to call anyone. Why do we entertain him? Your father took the initiative to drink, and no one forced him. How can people see poor relatives like us? Sounds of scolding came from all directions and turned into sharp arrows, piercing into Li Qingyan's heart. Li Qingyan looked at these former relatives and friends in panic, her eyes were red, but she did not cry. The more people criticized her, the stronger she became, trying not to let these people see her weakness. There were too many people, and Li Qingyan did not fight back. Because once you fight back, it will definitely lead to a bigger wave of words, which will attract the attention of guests from other areas and further turn it into a joke for the entire audience. Li Qingyan lowered her head, used her arms to forcefully pull Li Xian, and prepared to leave this place of right and wrong. Enough. Zhang Chunlin finally spoke. Just 2 words silenced everyone. These people all depend on the big tree of the Li family for their lives, and their economic lifeline is in Zhang Chunlin's hands, so they dare not disobey. Zhang Chunlin turned her head and looked at her drunken second son Li Xian and her granddaughter Li Qingyan, whom she was once most optimistic about and had the greatest expectations for, with very complicated eyes. "Li Qingyan, do you regret it?" Zhang Chunlin looked into Li Qingyan's eyes and said this sentence word by word. In an instant, the hearts of everyone in the Li family were moved. The tone was a bit unusual. If she replies I regret it, will I be prepared to forgive her? Lu Yuehua, who had already rushed over, his eyes lit up, he pushed Li Qingyan excitedly, and whispered, answer your grandma quickly, tell me you regret it. Li Qingyan slowly raised her head, looked at Zhang Chunlin bravely, and shook her head slowly but firmly, no regrets. Hearing this, Li Tianming and others felt happy. Strong. Keep going. The old lady may be a little soft-hearted, but you have successfully angered her again. Mom, Li Qingyan has been stubborn since she was a child. She will never look back. Grandma, if you let this impenitent person return to the family, she will definitely bring shame to the family again. Tisk, tisk, my head was bruised and bleeding, and I'm still feeling numb. The surrounding Li family members had mocking smiles on their lips and criticized Li Qingyan one after another. Lu Yuehua looked at Li Qingyan with an expression of hatred, extremely annoyed. An opportunity to return to the Li family. So wasted. Zhang Chunlin looked at Li Qingyan's firm eyes, and the disappointment in her eyes became heavier and heavier. She angrily squeezed the dragon head crutch and said sternly, you are stubborn and deserve the suffering you have suffered. Li Qingyan shook her head slightly and raised the corners of her mouth, Grandma, actually I don't feel that much pain. The moment I feel her heartbeat, I will never abandon her again. Besides, she is his bloodline, and I am willing to pay the price for it. Watching the little one I gave birth to grow up little by little, I am very happy and enjoy the process. She is the continuation of my life and all my expectations for the future. After saying that, Li Qingyan supported Li Xian, turned around and left. You. Zhang Chunlin looked at Li Qingyan's back and was speechless. Not far away. When Li Rumen saw that Li Qingyan was about to leave, he immediately winked at the girl with an awl face at the guest table. The girl with the awl face understood what she was thinking, stood up quickly, and walked straight towards Li Qingyan. The girl with the awl face is named Yang Suekan, and she is Li Qingyan's college classmate. When he was studying, Li Qingyan was excellent in all aspects and was the one that attracted everyone's attention. He always overshadowed Yang Suekan. When Nian Nian was in urgent need of money, Li Qingyan asked Yang Suekan to borrow money. Yang Suekan felt proud, and her words contained both guns and sticks. She neither refused nor agreed, deliberately hanging on. When Li Qingyan said all her good words and borrowed money in an almost begging tone, Yang Suekan was satisfied and lent Li Qingyan 10,000 yuan in a charitable tone. That feeling of being superior made Yang Suekan very happy. So what if you were once excellent? Now he is not being stepped on by himself. This time Yang Suekan came to the engagement banquet, invited by Li Rumen to embarrass Li Qingyan. Li Qingyan. Yang Suekan stood in front, looking at Li Qingyan with a half smile. Yang Suekan? Why are you here? Li Qingyan looked surprised. Yang Suekan crossed her arms and said coldly, if you can come, can't I come? When will you pay back the 10,000 yuan you owe me? I'm short of money recently, please pay me back immediately. Li Qingyan's face froze and she said softly, I don't have much savings recently, can you give me a period of grace? You are the department head of Fei Yang Group and your salary is very high. 10,000 yuan should not be a problem for you. Li Qingyan couldn't save any money now, so she spent all of it on Nian Nian's treatment. Yang Suekan took a step forward and said very forcefully, I told you that money is tight, so pay me back quickly. What? You borrowed money but never paid it back. You want to cheat, don't you? That's right. You were already the laughingstock of the entire Dragon City a few years ago. Your reputation has already been stinky, and you don't care if it gets any stinker. In the last sentence, Yang Suekan deliberately raised her voice. For a time, countless eyes looked this way. Is she the butt of laughter a few years ago? Ha ha ha, it turns out it's her. I've heard her legends like thunder. He looks pretty good, why is he such a person? You can't tell a person by his appearance. The world is declining, and people's hearts are no longer what they used to be. More and more guests looked at Li Qingyan with different expressions. Before, he was only ridiculed by relatives and friends of the Li family. Now being stared at and discussed by so many strangers, a strong sense of shame surged into Li Qingyan's heart. She stood frozen on the spot, her face so red that she could almost bleed. The gazes coming one after another were like shackles, constantly squeezing her living space, making it increasingly difficult for her to breathe. What a shame! Ye Wuwei, where are you? I can't seem to hold it any longer. Li Qingyan's delicate body trembled slightly, and she wanted to die. Mr. Ma Feiyang, chairman of Feiyang Group, is here. Welcome. At this time, there was a loud roar from the door of the banquet hall. Countless guests' eyes lit up and they immediately looked towards the door. Ma Feiyang is a legend in Jiangzhou's business community. The Wei family was prestigious enough to invite him here. Chairman. Yang Xueqin's eyes lit up, she ignored Li Qingyan and looked towards the door following the sound. Li Qingyan breathed a sigh of relief, gritted her teeth, lowered her head, and helped Li Xian walk out. Her hair hung down, covering her entire face. The covered and beautiful face was covered with tears of humiliation. One day, I will give all this back twice as much. Li Qingyan was not stupid and knew that everything happened tonight was done intentionally by others. She only has one thought now, to leave Dragon City and this place of right and wrong. When she returns to Dragon City again, she will make these people regret what they did tonight. At the same time, outside Dragon City No. 1, Ye Wuwei arrived with the 4 heavenly kings. After finding Ye Liuhao who was playing outside in the flower bed with Nian Nian, Ye Wuwei said anxiously, "Where's the light smoke?" Ye Lu pointed to the 3rd floor. Sister-in-law said that we should go up to discuss something and asked me to wait here with Nian Nian for a while. Hearing this, Ye Wuwei took Nian Nian and rushed into Dragon City No. 1. With Ye Wuwei's current strength, he has already touched the realm of unity between heaven and man. Just now, he felt someone calling him. Chapter 39. Dad, are you flying? Nian Nian hugged Ye Wuwei's neck, her eyes were shining, and her little face was flushed with excitement. In order to take care of Nian Nian, Ye Wuwei had tried to slow down as much as possible. But in Nian Nian's opinion, it was still as fast as flying. Nian Nian, don't talk yet, Mom needs us. Nian Nian's eyes were bright and she looked at Ye Wuwei with admiration. The 4 heavenly kings and Ye Lu didn't know what was going on. They realized that there might be an emergency and followed Ye Wuwei closely. The group of people quickly arrived at the 3rd floor and happened to meet Li Qingyan and the others. Li Qingyan was walking on the left, her face full of tears, her hair disheveled, and she was very embarrassed. Lu Yuehua walked on the right, with red eyes, an ugly face, and a sad look on his face. Both of Li Xian's arms were supported and he was placed in the middle. He looked drunk and walked with 1 foot high and 1 foot shallow. His body was swaying like a roly-poly. Seeing this scene, Ye Wuwei's face instantly darkened. Mom, why are you crying? The corners of Nian Nian's mouth flattened, and mist quickly appeared in her big eyes. Seeing Ye Wuwei suddenly appear holding Nian Nian in his arms, Li Qingyan hurriedly raised her hand to wipe the tears from her face. Lu Yuehua looked shocked and exclaimed, Ye Wuwei, you were not arrested. Ye Wuwei's eyes flashed, who said I was caught? Li Tianming. Lu Yuehua realized that he had been deceived, and his face was full of anger. He said that you were taken away from the hospital, and many people saw it. In an instant, Ye Wuwei understood. In the evening, Qinglong guard came to pick him up and took him to Sleeping Dragon Villa, and others mistakenly thought he had been arrested. But Li Tianming felt that the time had come and took the opportunity to bully Qingyan. Ye Wuwei came to Li Qingyan, suppressed his anger and said softly, what happened? Seeing the concerned look on Ye Wuwei's face, Li Qingyan's lips trembled and all her grievances burst out. She suddenly buried herself on Ye Wuwei's chest, her shoulders shaking, tears welling up, and she was so sad that she couldn't help herself. Lu Yuehua saw several strong men standing behind Ye Wuwei who felt inexplicably trembling at the sight of them, and concluded that what Ye Wuwei was doing abroad was not a serious business. Evil people need to be punished by evil people. Since Ye Wuwei now has a helper, let's go in and vent his anger. Lu Yuehua immediately told the cause and effect, and couldn't help but shed tears when she talked about the humiliation. After listening to Lu Yuehua's tearful narration, Ye Wuwei's eyes were extremely cold. Obviously, this was a deliberate setup by Li Tianming and Li Rumen. He just wanted to make Li Qingyan look embarrassed. Don't have this FG engagement party. Behind Ye Wuwei, the 4 heavenly kings also had cold eyes. Even the mistress of the Temple of Punishment dares to bully, who the hell gives them the guts? Brother, I rushed in and overthrew him. I think these bastards live a very stable life. If you don't give them some color, they won't know who they are. The eyes of the 4 heavenly kings flashed fiercely, and they all clenched their fists. Walk. Ye Wuwei gave a deep drink and walked towards the banquet hall. Don't. Just as he took the first step, Qingyan grabbed Ye Wuwei's hand and shook his head gently. Looking at Ye Wuwei's confused eyes, Qingyan took a deep breath and said, I will write down all this, and I will return it myself in the future. After returning to Daxia, Ye Wuwei felt guilty. He agreed to all the ideas proposed by Qingyan. But this time, he couldn't do it. Ye Wuwei shook his head slowly and firmly, no, I will avenge you on the spot. I will not allow anyone to bully my woman. Now that I'm back, I don't have to hold on alone. He dared to be tough even with the Daxia Council of Elders, let alone a bunch of rotten fish and shrimps in Dragon City. After saying that, Ye Wuwei held Nian in one hand and held Qingyan in the other, and walked quickly towards the door of the banquet hall. In the banquet hall, many people gathered at the door of a box. As soon as Ma Feiyang, the founder of Feiyang Group, arrived, he was warmly invited to the VIP box by the Wei family. These people at the door of the box are all waiting to come in and say hello. Ye Wuwei had no expression on his face and led everyone directly to the main table at the front. Roll. A simple word go instantly suppressed the noise in the audience and attracted the attention of the entire audience. The people sitting at the main table were all direct descendants of the Wei family and dignitaries. They, who are always respected wherever they go, have never experienced this kind of anger. Many people immediately shouted out. However, when they saw Ye Wuwei's fierce and ruthless eyes, their hearts suddenly became cold and cold sweat broke out on their backs. They felt like they were staring into the eyes of a ferocious beast that chose people to devour. If you don't obey the order, you will be killed in the next second. Whoosh! The people at the head table stood up in a hurry and retreated quickly. Ye Wuwei arranged for Nian and Qingyan to sit on his left and right sides. He himself sat on the main seat with great dignity. The four heavenly kings and Ye Lu sat down one after another, looking coldly at the people in the banquet hall. All this happened so suddenly that no one understood what was going on, and the entire banquet hall was completely silent. Lu Yuehua supported Li Xian and stood at the door of the banquet hall, feeling extremely shocked. She never expected that Ye Wuwei would be so bold. He wanted to directly offend the Wei family and those dignitaries. The next second, something happened that shocked Lu Yuehua even more. Ye Wuwei looked around the audience and said coldly, 5 years ago, Qingyan gave birth to a child for me. I heard that because of this incident, he became a laughingstock in your Dragon City. Who are you, who have the right to laugh at her? Perhaps Ye Wuwei's aura was too strong, or perhaps he didn't understand the situation, so no one spoke. Not far away, Li Tianming saw Ye Wuwei appearing, and his neck shrank in fear. What's going on? Why was this guy released? Ye Wuwei moved his eyes and said coldly, I am a person who values fairness and justice. Today, we will settle the accounts one by one. Who is Yang Suecan? Stand up. Seeing her name being called, Yang Suecan in the crowd trembled with fright. She didn't expect that Qingyan would come back with a group of strong men to take revenge so soon. However, this is the home court of the Wei family. The Wei family should not sit idly by and ignore it. Yang Suecan bravely walked out of the crowd and snorted, it's me. Repaying debts is a matter of course. What happened to me asking her for money? Ye Wuwei slowly shook his head, that's right. You lend her money, I thank you. You borrowed 10,000 yuan, and I will pay you back 20,000 yuan with interest. Yang Suecan's eyes lit up, really? Borrowing 10,000 yuan to repay 20,000 yuan, this is a higher return than any financial product. Ye Wuwei looked at Ye Lu and said, have you brought any cash? Write her a check if you don't have one. Bring it. Ye Lu casually took out 20,000 yuan and threw it to Yang Suecan. Looking at the genuine banknotes in his hand, the corners of Yang Suecan's mouth curled up slightly. This person is quite generous. However, this joy did not last long and then slowly dissipated. Ye Wuwei stared into Yang Suecan's eyes and said coldly, we have settled the financial accounts clearly, now we have to settle the accounts of insulting others and having a bad mouth. Chapter 40. Bad mouth? Yang Suecan's heart trembled, and she subconsciously took a step back, what do you want to do? Ye Wuwei's eyes were indifferent and he said in a cold voice, who are you? How dare you scold my woman? Stop it yourself, don't force me to do it. This cold look scared Yang Suecan as if she had fallen into an ice cave. Only then did she realize that the 20,000 yuan in her hand was a bit hot. It was to buy out the little friendship she had borrowed from Li Qingyan. Under the threat of Ye Wuwei's eyes, Yang Xueqin's face was pale and her body was shaking. She looked at the Wei family around her as if asking for help, begging the Wei family to come forward for her. At this time, everyone in the Wei family also roughly understood what was going on at the scene. Apparently, the man who got Li Qingyan pregnant is back and now wants to stand up for Li Qingyan. A senior executive of the Wei family snorted coldly, "Friend, today is the engagement party between my Wei family and the Li family. I don't want to cause any unpleasantness. If you are interested, leave immediately. Our Wei family will not hold you accountable. Otherwise, you might have to come in vertically and go out horizontally today." While the senior Wei family member was speaking, he raised his hand to greet the Wei family warriors to come towards Ye Wuwei. Ye Wuwei didn't want to pay attention to such small fish. They are not qualified to talk to Ye Wuwei yet. Ye Lu stood up slowly, picked up a chair, and walked step by step towards the people of the Wei family who were surrounding him. Seeing this, the senior member of the Wei family looked cold. "You want to take action here? Young man, I advise you to think twice before you act. Otherwise, we don't even know how we died." The words just fell. The senior member of the Wei family let out a scream. Because the chair in Ye Lu's hand had flown to his head. Pa bang bang! Immediately afterwards, Ye Lu quickly took action and slapped each of them, knocking out the Wei family warriors. If it weren't for the concern that Nian and Li Qingyan were still here, Ye Lu's slap wouldn't have been as simple as knocking him out. Seeing how powerful Ye Lu was, the warriors of the Wei family were stunned and the whole place fell silent. Li Qingyan opened her mouth wide and was shocked. She didn't expect Ye Lu to be so strong. At this time, a childish voice spread throughout the hall, "Uncle Ye Lu, you are so handsome." The person who spoke was none other than Nian. Even though when Ye Lu took action, Ye Wuwei had already covered Nian's eyes immediately to prevent the little guy from seeing such a violent scene and teaching her bad things. However, Nian still saw some scenes through her fingers. The little guy waved his pink fist and cheered loudly for Ye Lu. Hearing this, Ye Lu smiled in his heart and instantly became energetic. "You." The senior executive of the Wei family who had been thrown off his chair stood up unsteadily and was about to speak. Ye Liuchen did a 720-degree spin in a coquettish manner. The senior Wei family executive was knocked unconscious halfway through his words. "Wow! Uncle Ye Lu is the most handsome." Nian let out an exclamation and danced with excitement. This emotional value is directly filled up. The 10 words of praise from those strong men outside the territory were not worth the cheers given by the little princess of the Temple of Killing. Ye Lu grinned, almost reaching his ears. He waved his hands modestly and said with a smile, "It's just so." Seeing this, the 4 heavenly kings all felt itchy and wanted to show off in front of their little niece. Only Ye Wuwei stared at Ye Lu with an unkind expression. He didn't want to miss being influenced by these brothers and transforming from a smart and cute little princess into a violent little pepper. Sensing something was wrong with Ye Wuwei's eyes, Ye Lu smiled and returned to his original position with an awkward smile. When the others saw that the warriors of the Wei family were easily knocked down by Ye Wuwei's friends, their expressions suddenly changed wildly. "You know, as the Wei family is a second-rate family in Dragon City, the warriors they cultivate are all very powerful. Basically, they are all 5th-grade warriors, and there are quite a few 4th-grade martial artists. It is not a problem for any samurai to pick off and beat up 20 or 30 ordinary people. And this person, it was so easy to beat the Wei family warriors." Everyone was confused and looked at Ye Wuwei and others in shock. At the same time, she also looked at Li Qingyan with great envy. They never expected that Li Qingyan's man would be so extraordinary, and he would only associate with strong martial arts masters. Among everyone, the Li family was the most shocked. Seeing Ye Wuwei pulling Li Qingyan on the stage forcefully, and then seeing Ye Lu showing his formidable strength, an unspeakable fear gradually grew in his heart. They had a premonition that Ye Wuwei's next target would be them. The premonition of everyone in the Li family was very accurate. Ye Wuwei really had no intention of letting them go. However, the current target is still Yang Xueqin. Ye Wuwei looked at Yang Xueqin coldly without saying a word. However, a simple look is worth 1,000 words. Under the threat of Ye Wuwei's eyes, Yang Xueqin's body trembled wildly, and her heart was filled with horror. Even the warriors of the Wei family were no match, let alone her. Crack! Yang Xueqin's hands trembled and she slapped herself in the face. "Li Qingyan, I'm sorry." Crack! "I shouldn't take advantage of others' danger, mock you and insult you at your most difficult time. Crack. Qingyan, we are classmates. Considering our past friendship, please forgive me. Crack. Li Rumen called me to make you look bad today. It was not my intention. Crack. Fanning herself in front of so many people in the audience, Yang Xueqin was completely embarrassed and almost emotionally collapsed. But if Ye Wuwei didn't shout to stop, Yang Xueqin didn't dare to stop. It wasn't until a trace of blood flowed from the corner of Yang Xueqin's mouth that Ye Wuwei said coldly, "Take your money and get out." Hearing this, Yang Xueqin felt like she was being pardoned. She lowered her head in shame and anger and hurried out of the banquet hall. Ye Wuwei turned his gaze to everyone in the Li family and said in a cold voice, "Li Tianming, it's your turn." Hearing this, everyone in the Li family trembled. Li Tianming was shocked, his eyelids were twitching wildly, he smiled forcefully and said, "Ye Wuwei, we are all a family, don't hurt the harmony." With so many people watching here, Li Tianming thought about where he would put his old face if he was whipped in public. Ye Wuwei smiled coldly, "A family. Are you worthy?" The words just fell. A cold scolding sound appeared in everyone's ears, "Young man, don't be too arrogant. This is not a place for you to act wild." Everyone followed the sound and saw a middle-aged man with a gloomy face walking slowly from the VIP box. Behind the middle-aged man are tonight's protagonists, Li Rumen and Wei Dong. Li Rumen gritted her teeth, her face full of anger. Wei Dong squinted his eyes and looked unhappy. The beautiful engagement party was disrupted by Ye Wuwei. You can imagine how strong the resentment in the two people's hearts was. And that middle-aged man with a gloomy face was none other than Wei Dong's father, the head of the Wei family. Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian said as he walked, "I am Wei Wuxian, the head of the Wei family. Today is my son's big day, and I don't want things to be too ugly. Give Mr. Wei some face, leave here, and let this matter go." In addition, Mr. Ma Feiyang, chairman of Feiyang Group, is inside. I don't want anyone to disturb him. People from the Wei family have already reported the situation to Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian knew that there was a master among this group of people, so he did not want to escalate the situation and settle the score later. In order to increase the pressure, he also moved Ma Feiyang out. Ma Feiyang is a legend in the business world and is famous throughout Zhangzhou. Both black and white have to give face. In the Zhangzhou business community, except for Zhao Filong, the richest man in Zhangzhou from the powerful Zhao family, almost no one can compare with Ma Feiyang in the business world. His name is a household name. Wei Wuxian thought Ma Feiyang's reputation could suppress Ye Wuwei. But the next second, Ye Wuwei shocked the whole audience with his words, "Who do you think you are? You deserve to let me give you face. What is Ma Feiyang? Get out of here, or I'll take care of you too." Ye Wuwei didn't even pay attention to these stinky fish and rotten shrimps. If Li Qingyan and Nian weren't here, he would have used his own methods to teach them how to behave. Chapter 41. Who is Ma Feiyang? As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was shocked. Crazy. So crazy. Forget it if you don't take the head of the Wei family seriously, not even Ma Feiyang. This is seeking death. Haha, arrogant and ignorant, extremely ridiculous. Wei Wuxian laughed angrily. After living in Longcheng for so many years, he has never met such an arrogant person, and he has learned a lot today. The Wei family is a second-rate family in Dragon City, and the resources it can mobilize are beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The accumulation of several generations is not something that a few people can scare away. Wei Wuxian's face turned cold and he growled, "Can you bear to disturb our distinguished guests? Kick them out for me." As soon as he said this, two old men walked out from behind Wei Wuxian. Seeing these two old men, some knowledgeable people's eyes lit up. This is the second black and white elder of the Wei family. These two are veteran strong men who have been famous for a long time. They were already third-level martial kings many years ago. These two are the anchors of the Wei family. The Wei family can go smoothly thanks to their protection over the years. The black and white men are dispatched at the same time. I want to see how arrogant these madmen can be. The two old men, black and white, have been famous for a long time and have a great reputation. When these guests saw that the Wei family had sent out real experts, they became bolder and dared to speak out. Hearing these people's words, Ye Wuwei and others didn't even raise their eyelids. What about the third-grade martial king? Having never experienced the training of blood and fire, or the struggle between life and death, King Wu was just a stronger rotten fish. Ye Lu slowly stood up and prepared to take action. It is impossible for Ye Wuwei, the palace master, to take action against such a small fish and shrimp, so as to dirty his hands. Any action against them is to promote them. Even being beaten by Ye Wuwei was their honor. It is impossible for the four heavenly kings to take action, it is not worth it. However, things often develop unexpectedly. As soon as Ye Lu stood up, a big hand was put on his shoulder. Xiao Liuzi, I'm coming. Tianwei, one of the four heavenly kings who was unusually tall and unbelievably strong like a human, stood up. Compared with Tianwei, Ye Lu, who is about 1.8 meters tall, is like a thin telegraph pole. Tianwei's hands were very strong, and he pushed Ye Lu back to his seat with a slight exertion. Ye Lu looked helpless, secretly regretting that he had lost an opportunity to establish a mighty image in Nian Nian's mind. Tianwei ignored the black and white elders who were getting closer and closer, looked at Nian Nian with a smile, and said kindly, "Little Nian Nian, my uncle's name is Tianwei. I'm here in a hurry this time. I didn't bring you any gifts. I'm just going to demonstrate to you a set of my uncle's best thunder boxing technique. If there is anything you don't know how to do, my uncle will guide you personally next time we meet." Tianwei is tall, and his smile looks like a naive giant panda in Nian Nian's eyes. Seeing the black and white elders getting closer and closer, Nian Nian felt anxious. This big uncle seemed not to have a clear mind. Nian Nian nodded seriously and said anxiously, "Okay, Uncle Tianwei. Turn around quickly, the bad old man is going to come in front of you and beat you up." As soon as these words came out, the three Tianxia people couldn't help but laugh. This little niece is really cute. When Ye Wuwei heard Tianwei's words, he knew that Tianwei's actions were measured, so he did not cover Nian Nian's eyes. When the black and white elders heard what Nian Nian said, their faces darkened and they couldn't help but quicken their pace. "Wild girl, her mouth smells as bad as your mother's." Li Rumen, who was standing aside, muttered. She thought her voice was so small that no one could hear her. However, Tianwei's ears moved. Under everyone's gaze, the black and white elders came to Tianwei's side with gloomy faces, one on the left and the other on the right, and they took action at the same time. Faced with the joint attack of two veteran martial kings, even a strong martial king level couldn't bear it. However, Tianwei took a step forward diagonally, avoiding the attacks of the two at a very weird angle, and then further distanced himself. He didn't show his true speed, he relied entirely on his eyesight to find the flaws in the attacks of the two old men. First style. Thunder. Tianwei gave a deep shout and pulled out his fist stand boom. Tianwei punched out, and the wind roared like thunder. This punch scared the black and white old man's face and changed his face wildly. But when the fist fell on the body, the black and white elders relaxed. "It hurts, but not as scary as I imagined." The corners of the mouths of the black and white elders showed a sneer at the same time. He Lao, who was wearing ink clothes, sneered, "I thought you were so powerful, but it turns out you are just a showpiece." Hearing this, Wei Wuxian and others were calm. Fortunately, this group of people is not very strong, and the black and white elders are enough to take them down. As everyone knows, Tianwei was just afraid of beating them to death with one punch, so he deliberately controlled his strength within the power range of a 5th-grade warrior. Immediately, the two sides began to fight, and it seemed that they were evenly matched. Everyone felt that they had figured out the strength of Ye Wuwei and his group, their eyes gradually became playful, and they talked in low voices. Ding Tian is a strong man with the level of King Wu. If you dare to scold the dignitaries of Dragon City, you don't know how they will die in the future. Second style. Third form. Tianwei didn't care what these people thought and just showed off his thunder fist. How can an elephant's thoughts be influenced by a small ant that can be trampled to death with just one kick? During this process, Nian Nian kept looking at Tianwei with wide eyes. There was always a hint of confusion in her big, bright eyes. Finally, Nian Nian couldn't help her curiosity, put her mouth to Ye Wuwei's ear, and whispered, "Dad, is Uncle Tianwei teasing the old man?" Ye Wuwei raised his eyebrows, "What did you see?" Nian Nian nodded, "Uncle Tianwei is obviously faster, but he often waits for the bad old man." Hearing this, Ye Wuwei was shocked. Even a 4th-grade martial artist may not be able to see this situation. Nian Nian, a 5-year-old child, can actually see it. Could it be that my precious daughter is a martial arts prodigy? You know, when I was 5 years old, I was still fighting with mud. As expected of his own bloodline, it's just different. Crack! Ah, just then, a scream appeared. Ye Wuwei looked up and saw Li Rumen covering her mouth and looking at Tianwei in horror. Just now, Tianwei deliberately led the battle group to Li Rumen. Li Rumen couldn't dodge and was slapped by Tianwei. Wei Dong was furious and roared, "Two seniors, capture him quickly." The black and white elders glared at Wei Dong and quickened the pace of their attacks. Others thought they were evenly matched, but only the black and white elders knew that there was nothing they could do. They gradually understood that Tianwei was hiding his clumsiness and deliberately eluded them. The last move, thunder roars. Tianwei punched out two fists, hitting the black and white elders. A series of extremely subtle thunder sounds appeared on the black and white elders. Every place where thunder rang out was where Tianwei's fist struck. The body of the black and white elders softened, and they fell directly to the ground like a robot whose power was cut off. There is no visible injury on the outside, but in fact the 8 extra meridians have already been scarred. Seeing this, the others suffocated and fell silent instantly. Wow! Uncle Tianwei is so awesome! Nian Nian's cheers announced the result of this victory. Looking at Nian Nian's adoring eyes, Tianwei was greatly benefited, and a proud smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Oh Ye Wuwei Li Rumen, who had just been numb from the pain, came back to his senses and burst into tears from the pain. Her 2 front teeth were knocked out by Tianwei's slap, and her words were leaked. When Wei Wuxian saw the sudden defeat of the black and white elders, his expression changed again and again. We were fighting so passionately, why did we suddenly lose? Without any time to think about it, Wei Wuxian took a big step back and said urgently, "Go to the box and invite Chairman Ma out. Fei Yang Group's Ma Fei Yang has to give face to both black and white. With him here, the Wei family will definitely be able to save their face." Chapter 42. The defeat of the black and white elders shocked all the guests. However, when he heard that Wei Wuxian wanted to ask Ma Fei Yang to settle the matter, he immediately showed a gloating expression. "Who is Ma Fei Yang? That is the second richest man in Zhangzhou. There is news that the Zhao family has provoked some big force and suffered a big disaster last night. The Zhao family will soon move out of Zhangzhou." As soon as the Zhao family left, Ma Fei Yang became the richest man in Zhangzhou. He just said what Chairman Ma is. Everyone heard it. Let Chairman Ma explain it to him later. Both black and white have to give Chairman Ma face, let's see if this madman can give him face. A person like Chairman Ma has such a strong aura that he will probably scare the shit out of them as soon as he appears. Many guests were sneering, waiting to see Ye Wuwei make a fool of himself. Want to stand up for your woman and help her regain her lost dignity? Hee. I want to step you into the dust. Everyone in the Li family breathed a sigh of relief when they heard this. Because Ye Wuwei originally wanted to deal with them, the Wei family blocked the gun for them. Now that the Wei family has invited Fei Yang, Ye Wuwei can only go away in despair. How about getting to know the secretary of the governor of Zhangzhou? Ma Fei Yang is a figure that the governor of Zhangzhou attaches great importance to. The richest man, Zhao Filong, is a vampire who draws blood from Zhangzhou for the Zhao family. If it weren't for Ma Fei Yang, Zhangzhou's economy would never be as good as it is now. So what if you know the powerful King Wu? Which bodyguard team Chairman Ma invested heavily in building is not a famous martial arts expert. I heard that there are several top martial arts kings. Li Tianming stood up and said angrily, Ye Wuwei, this is not a place for you to run wild. If you dare to disrupt the engagement banquet of my Wei and Li family, you must be prepared to be dealt with. When Chairman Ma comes out, I'll see how crazy you can be. Li Tianming had been holding back this resentment for a long time. I have been frightened for so long, and now I finally let it out. Li Tianming felt very happy. That's the benefit of marrying into a strong family. The Li family can't reach Ma Fei Yang, but the Wei family can. The Wei family is indeed a second-rate family with extraordinary heritage. Wei Dong supported Li Rumen and said coldly, Ye Wuwei, wait. I'm going to knock out your front teeth with my own hands later. All kinds of voices and all kinds of faces came like a tide. Li Qingyan's heart tightened, and she quietly pulled Ye Wuwei's hand and whispered, let's run. If you keep the green hills, you won't have to worry about running out of firewood. Ma Fei Yang is a legend in Zhangzhou's business community. He is very powerful. Ye Wuwei smiled lightly and gave her a reassuring look. A legend in Zhangzhou's business community? Even if the legend of the Daxia business world comes, he has to bow his head. Get out of the way, Chairman Ma is coming out. An excited roar echoed throughout the audience. With his head held high and his chest high, Ma Fei Yang, full of aura, walked out surrounded by a group of people. Chairman, I am Yang Swekin, the head of the sales department. Chairman, please give me the final say. Yang Swekin suddenly rushed out of the crowd. She knew Ma Fei Yang was here, so she never left. Ma Fei Yang glanced at her and said calmly, the whole company is busy with that big thing, how come you, a supervisor, are here? Yang Swekin was dumbfounded and speechless. Ma Fei Yang roughly guessed some of the situation and stopped talking to Yang Swekin. As he moved forward, he said in a deep voice, which friend said this, what is Ma? He. Ma. Halfway through his words, the bodyguards who were opening the way in front of him shuddered and quickly dispersed as if they had seen a ghost, revealing a visual passage. Ma Fei Yang took a closer look and was confused on the spot. All the blood in his body seemed to have stopped flowing, and he stood frozen in place. The next second, Ma Fei Yang showed an extremely enthusiastic smile on his face, Sixth Master. He pushed away the bodyguard and trotted all the way to Ye Lu, saying cheerfully, why is Mr. Lu here? Ye Lu glanced at him and said calmly, someone bullied my sister-in-law. The boss and I are here to seek justice. Ma Fei Yang's eyes widened and he said in disbelief, Sixth Master, does anyone dare to bully your sister-in-law? Who? Ye Lu's lips curled into a sneer, who? Aren't you just about to support him? As soon as these words came out, Ma Fei Yang was instantly petrified. What? The Wei family dares to bully the people who killed the temple? Where do they get the guts from? Ma Fei Yang turned around blankly and looked at Wei Wuxian and others with a confused look on his face. The Wei family has business cooperation with Fei Yang Group, and Wei Wuxian often visits Ma Fei Yang. Wei Wuxian made several trips to Fei Yang Group today to invite Ma Fei Yang to tonight's dinner. Seeing Wei Wuxian's sincere attitude, Ma Fei Yang decided to give him some face. As soon as he arrived, he entered the box and, accompanied by senior members of the Wei family, had a lively meal and drink. As a result, Wei Wuxian hurried out after not long drinking. After a while, people from the Wei family ran in and said that someone was making trouble outside. The man also said that he was nothing. Ma Fei Yang felt angry and went out of the box to see the situation. As a result, the scene just happened. At this moment, countless guests were petrified. No one expected such a dramatic scene to happen. The famous chairman of Fei Yang Group actually knows these crazy people. Moreover, the person named Ye Lu is also called Lu Yet. This relationship is unusual at first glance. Li Tianming, Li Rumen, Wei Dong, Wei Wuxian, and others were all dumbfounded. My mind was a mess. What is going on? Chairman Ma, do you know them? Wei Wuxian was the first to come to his senses and asked nervously. Hearing this, Ma Fei Yang came to his senses. However, he did not pay any attention to Wei Wuxian, but mechanically turned his head to look at Ye Wuwei. Having been in business for so many years, he could tell at a glance that Ye Wuwei was the leader of the table from his seated position and temperament. Sister-in-law. Isn't that big brother's woman? Mr. Liu's eldest brother is the master of the Temple of Punishment. In an instant, Ma Fei Yang's heart was filled with turmoil. Could this be the terrifying and mysterious master of the Temple of Punishment who is powerful outside the territory? The wedding of the century that Fei Yang Group is preparing is most likely for the lady beside him. After all, only the mistress of the temple is worthy of a wedding of the century. Encountered such difficulties. What the hell am I? Dare to stand up for the Wei family? Ma Fei Yang seemed to have been struck by five thunders, his mind was shaken, and his expression kept changing, which was extremely exciting. Chapter 43. The whole place was dead silent. Silence fell. Ma Fei Yang's instant change of attitude was beyond everyone's expectations. Wei Wuxian had a premonition that something was wrong, and his face gradually turned ugly. Li Tianming and other members of the Li family also realized that something was wrong. Their faces turned blue and white, as if they had eaten flies. After a long time, Ma Fei Yang finally digested this super exciting news. Ma Fei Yang's Adam's apple twitched, he swallowed secretly, and whispered, Lu. Master Lu, is this your boss? Ye Lu nodded lightly. Even though he had already guessed it, after confirming Ye Wuwei's identity, Ma Fei Yang couldn't help but feel weak in his legs. If there wasn't a chair next to him to use his strength, he would have fallen to the ground. For a moment, Ma Fei Yang's thoughts were racing. Ma Fei-yang took a deep breath, looked around the audience, and said solemnly, "Sixth Master's boss is my Ma Fei-yang's boss. Sixth Master's sister-in-law is my Ma Fei-yang's sister-in-law." With that said, he looked at Li Qingyan and said decisively, "Miss Li, don't worry, you don't have to worry about this matter today, I will handle it." After saying that, Ma Fei-yang's heart suddenly lifted. The intention of his words was obvious, and there were also some transgressions. I was afraid that Ye Wuwei and Ye Lu would mind. He was not qualified to be brothers with Ye Wuwei and Ye Lu. However, wealth can be found in danger. Ma Fei-yang is a qualified businessman and has calculated that the rewards are much greater than the risks. So it's worth taking some risks. Seeing that the chairman of Fei-yang Group, who was well known in Zhangzhou business circles, was so polite, Li Qingyan was a little flattered. She waved her hands repeatedly and said nervously, "Chairman Ma, you are too polite." Ye Wuwei pressed Li Qingyan's hand and said calmly, "Since Chairman Ma has this heart, don't refuse." As soon as these words came out, Ma Fei-yang's heart immediately fell back into his stomach. The lord of the palace has tacitly allowed himself to handle it. Then you must give him a satisfactory answer. Now not only has the risk of confrontation with the temple of punishment been eliminated, but he has also been given the opportunity to do things for the lord of the temple, killing two birds with one stone. Ma Fei-yang looked to the sidelines, selected a guest from the crowd who had watched the whole process, and quickly learned what happened in the banquet hall. Soon, Ma Fei-yang suddenly looked at Yang Suekin and said angrily, "Are you the director of Fei-yang Group?" Seeing Ma Fei-yang furious, Yang Suekin was so frightened that her hands and feet became weak, and she said tremblingly, I am the supervisor of sales, Part 1. Ma Fei-yang frowned, taking advantage of others' danger, insulting others, with ulterior motives, have her executed immediately. Also, check whether she has any power and S*X deals with her superiors. Becoming a supervisor at a young age must be a sinister thing. If there is a problem, go directly to the litigation process and let her have a taste of what it feels like to be ruined. In a giant company like Fei-yang Group, it is difficult to get promoted. The sales department is a key department of Fei-yang Group. Talents gather together, and all the gold medal salesmen of major companies are recruited. It is extremely difficult to stand out among so many gold medal sales. Yes. An entourage agreed, immediately took a photo of Yang Suekin and sent it to Fei-yang Group's internal senior management group. Hearing this, Yang Suekin's complexion instantly turned as pale as paper. She has always been high-spirited. After graduation, I changed several jobs but nothing was satisfactory. It wasn't until he used his body to clear the way 2 years ago that he successfully entered Fei-yang Group. It is too easy to achieve the goal. It becomes normal to eat the marrow and know the taste, and gradually use the body to open the way. Her status as the director of Fei-yang Group put a halo around her head. Whether it is a class reunion or various social occasions, she has become the envy and compliment of many of her peers. But now, everything she exchanged for her body is about to be lost. Chairman, I was wrong. Please, don't fire me. I was really wrong. Yang Suekin suddenly collapsed to the ground and cried bitterly. However, Ma Fei-yang didn't even bother to look at him. Qingyan, can you say something to me? It was my fault before, I apologize to you, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. The valuable jewelry I bought was paid in installments. I can't lose this job. For the sake of my classmates, please say something to me. Seeing Ma Fei-yang's attitude is cold. Yang Suekin then looked at Li Qingyan, wanting to persuade the latter. Li Qingyan used to be famous for her kindness. She would help her classmates who came from poor families were in trouble as long as they knew about it. Yang Suekin had also been favored by Li Qingyan. Li Qingyan clenched her fists and said solemnly, "Everyone must bear the consequences of their own choices. I was like that before, and you are like that now." Hearing this, Yang Suekin's crying gradually stopped, but her tears became more intense. Li Qingyan's words awakened her. Looking back on the past few years, she was shocked to realize that she was a completely different person compared to the person she is now. Yang Suekin wept silently and left sadly. Her heart was filled with endless regret. After dealing with Yang Suekin, Ma Fei-yang turned his attention to everyone in the Wei family headed by Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian's heart trembled, and he said nervously, "Director Ma, our Wei family just handled this inappropriately. On behalf of everyone in the Wei family, I apologize to Miss Li." After saying that, Wei Wuxian bowed deeply in the direction where Li Qingyan was sitting. After standing up, Wei Wuxian looked at everyone in the Wei family and shouted, "What are you waiting for? You still haven't admitted your mistake to Miss Li." Hearing this, Wei Dong and Li Rumen were so angry that they gritted their teeth. Especially Li Rumen, his lungs were about to explode. She did this to make Li Qingyan look embarrassed, but she didn't expect that she would become a clown. Although she was filled with reluctance, Li Rumen did not dare to disobey this prospective father-in-law, and she still had to bend down and apologize to Li Qingyan along with everyone in the Wei family. After watching everyone in the Wei family finish all this, Ma Fei said calmly, "If an apology is useful, why should we follow the rules?" Wei Wuxian took a breath and said tremblingly, Ma Dong." Ma Feiyang's face gradually turned cold, his voice rose, and he shouted, "From now on, all business cooperation with the Wei family will be severed. If you are currently working on a project, change partners immediately. The cooperation that has not yet begun will exclude the Wei family. Compensate what should be compensated and sue what should be sued. From now on, Feiyang Group will have nothing to do with the Wei family." As soon as these words came out, the Wei family's hearts beat wildly and their faces turned pale. The core businesses of the Wei family are all related to Feiyang Group. If all of this is cut off, will the whole family, who are accustomed to fine clothes and fine food, go to fight the northwest wind? Wei Wuxian said in a trembling voice, Dong Ma, please think about it again, this." Before he finished speaking, Ma Feiyang shouted coldly, "Go and do it immediately." "Yes." The entourage nodded quickly and went to make arrangements immediately. Wei Wuxian staggered back a step and said harshly, "Ma Feiyang, you did an incredible job." "Absolutely." Ma Feiyang smiled coldly, looked at everyone in the banquet hall, and said solemnly, "Anyone who cooperates with the Wei family is working against me, Ma Feiyang. Bullying Miss Li, this Dragon City can no longer accommodate the Wei family." As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at each other. Soon, all the dignitaries agreed in unison, claiming that they would never interact with the Wei family again. When choosing between the Wei family and Ma Feiyang, I would choose Ma Feiyang at all costs. In this way, the Wei family's escape route was directly cut off. The guests invited by the Wei family have become chains that bind the Wei family. You. Wei Wuxian pointed at Ma Feiyang, his eyes darkened, and he fainted. "Dad! Master!" Seeing this, the Wei family lost its backbone and was instantly in chaos. After dealing with the Wei family, Ma Feiyang slowly looked at the Li family. Just one glance made everyone in the Li family's hair stand on end and their hearts trembled. However, Ma Feiyang did not immediately attack. He turned his head to look at Li Qingyan and said politely, "Ms. Li, what should we do with the Li family?" The reason why the Li family was left at the end was precisely because Li Qingyan came from the Li family, and Ma Feiyang did not dare to make his own decision. Li Qingyan looked forward and said expressionlessly, "Why are you asking me? I have been kicked out of the Li family a long time ago." Chapter 44. Well. Ma Feiyang's expression froze. This stumped him. Although Li Qingyan was expelled from the Li family, after all, she was once a member of the Li family, her surname was Li, and she shed the blood of the Li family. If the Li family is dealt with too badly, there is still a long way to go, and there is no guarantee that their relationship will be repaired, and the account will have to be settled on his head. After all, Li Qingyan's rise was already destined to take off next to the behemoth of the Temple of Punishment. When one person attains enlightenment, chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. People from the Li family will benefit more or less. Ma Feiyang's eyes wandered, thinking about countermeasures. At this moment, everyone in the Li family not far away could not sit still. Li Tianming's face turned pale and he said nervously, "Qingyan, we are a family, don't say such irritating words. When your grandma kicked you out of the Li family, it was a helpless move. There were too many rumors outside. We have indeed not cared enough about you over the years, but we still miss you in our hearts. Your grandma gave you a chance before and wanted you to return to the Li family." Seeing that the opportunity to take over the Li family was about to come, but unexpected changes occurred, Li Tianming was really unwilling to do so. This has been his obsession over the years. In order to successfully run the Li family, he has sacrificed too much. He directly distanced himself and wanted to struggle. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the Li family agreed, "Yes, Qingyan, we are all a family. I used to hug you when you were a kid. Qingyan, you will always be part of the Li family, and we have never treated you as an outsider. My tone was a bit bad before, I apologize to you. I haven't cared about you much in these years. It's really because I'm an incompetent uncle. People in the Li family are like chameleons. In my words, I sometimes blame myself, sometimes regret, and sometimes feel sorry. Various emotions switch freely on their faces, making them worthy of being movie kings. Even those as strong as the Wei family were dealt with. The Li family is a small third-rate family, and it is easier to clean up. These people all live on the back of the big tree of the Li family. Once the Li family falls, their good days will come to an end. Hear these words. Li Qingyan remained silent, with disappointment in her eyes. The bones of these former family members are too soft. How nice it sounds now. If Ye Wuwei didn't have many friends, I might have been bullied by you. I feel sick when I see your faces like this. Brother, weren't you very tough before? Seeing that Ye Wuwei's brother knew Ma Fiyang, Lu Yuehua suddenly became interested. She strode to the center of the banquet hall, pointed at the Li family's noses, and started scolding them. All the accumulated emotions over the past few years were released at this moment. Seeing Lu Yuehua's fierce appearance, all the guests were stunned. The people they usually come into contact with will still maintain basic decency even if their faces are broken. They really can't do this kind of abuse like a shrew. Lu Yuehua scolded her without reservation or mercy. The faces of everyone in the Li family turned blue and white, but they didn't dare to talk back, feeling extremely aggrieved. Seeing this, Li Qingyan did not stop him. Although Lu Yuehua has been complaining about her in the past few years, he never hesitated when he needed support. People like the Li family are doing too ugly, so there is nothing wrong with venting their emotions. Seeing that Lu Yuehua's scoldings were becoming more and more unpleasant, Zhang Chunlin, who had been silent all this time, finally couldn't help but even pulled out the Li family's genealogy. Zhang Chunlin stood up suddenly, stamped her crutches vigorously, and said with an ugly face, "Shut up. No matter what means you have, just use it, the Li family will follow it. The decision to expel you from the family was made by me. If anything, come after me." As the actual person in power of the Li family, Zhang Chunlin has been the leader for so many years. She is a very courageous person. At this time, Zhang Chunlin's heart was filled with disappointment. She originally wanted to publicly announce Li Tianming as the head of the Li family at her birthday party. However, Li Tianming's performance today disappointed her. Let an irresponsible person lead a family, and the family will not go far. Whenever Li Tianming was just a little tougher, she would not hesitate to let Li Tianming officially take over the Li family. Over the years, Zhang Chunlin has accumulated a lot of prestige. Seeing her speak, Lu Yuehua slowly stopped. She just scolded others happily, but she didn't dare to scold Zhang Chunlin. After all, we are still elders, so we still need to have basic respect. And Nian is here too, so she can't teach the children bad things. This, Miss Li, what do you think? Ma Fiyang didn't dare to make a decision, so he looked at Li Qingyan for help. Encouraged by Ye Wuwei's eyes, Li Qingyan slowly stood up. Her eyes moved across everyone's faces, and all she saw were envious and shocked looks. It all made her feel unreal. Finally, Li Qingyan's eyes fell on Zhang Chunlin. "Grandma, I don't care about those gossips. I only have one condition. Just like our family did before, we will strip them of their property and drive their family out of the Li family. A person like this who likes to stir up trouble will be a disaster if he stays in the Li family." While speaking, Li Qingyan pointed her finger at Li Rumen not far away. Li Rumen also had to taste the hardships he had suffered. Let her also feel what it means to be pushed down by the wall and what it means to be like a tiger. Li Rumen's expression changed, and he was about to speak, but was stopped by Li Tianming's eyes. Ma Fiyang is here, and it would be unwise to have a head-on conflict. Hearing this, Zhang Chunlin looked at the Li family members and found that their eyes were full of expectation. "Mom, you can consider the conditions for light smoking. You have to think about the overall situation. My eldest brother usually embezzles a lot of money from the company, but you don't know it. It's not impossible to expel the family. We need to pass this test first." Zhang Chunlin sighed in her heart, extremely disappointed. When they expelled Li Qingyan's family from the Li family, they also asked themselves to think about the overall situation. The boomerang that was thrown back then is now flying back. Chapter 45. You, don't spit on others. Don't think that I don't know what you are doing. Am I the only one who is misappropriating the company's funds? You. Seeing that his family members who were usually respectful to him were now adding insult to injury, Li Tianming's nose was so angry that he immediately lashed out not to be outdone. Enough! Before Li Tianming could finish speaking, Zhang Chunlin roared and interrupted the former. The flesh on Zhang Chunlin's face was trembling, and she was so angry that she felt angina. Disappointment. Extremely disappointed. Do you have to tell the story about the Li family in front of so many people? What is the difference between this and dog bite dog? Zhang Chunlin pointed at Li Tianming and others, her arms trembling, and roared, get out of here. From now on, you will be relieved of all positions in the company, recover all illegal assets, and get out of the Li family. As soon as these words came out, not only Li Tianming and Li Rumen, but also the other Li family members changed their expressions. Mom, please think twice. Mom, if you drive us all away, who will manage the company? Auntie, are you confused? We all have the surname Li. If you drive us all away, the Li family in Longcheng will disappear. How can you have the face to meet your uncle? Everyone in the Li family looked solemn and spoke one after another. The Li family in Longcheng once had a glorious past. At its peak, it could even compete with the Li clan in the divine capital. Later, because some things he did went too far, he was suppressed by the Li family. Gradually from the first-rate family in Dragon City to the third-rate family today. The super-wealthy Zhao family in Dragon City rose up during the decline of the Li family. There are now more than 100 people in the Li family. The Li family members present here are basically direct members of the family, about 10 people. These people occupy various important positions in the Li group and often fight openly and secretly for their own interests. In fact, the mainstay of the Li group is the unknown side members of the Li family. It is only because of the distance in blood relationships that it is difficult for collateral personnel to be promoted. Zhang Chunlin looked at the faces with different expressions and said angrily, I, Zhang Chunlin, have been married to the Li family for 50 years and have devoted most of my life to the Li family. The thing I regret most is my neglect of discipline for you. If the Li family really collapses like this, then the Li family in Longcheng deserves to be extinct. Zhang Chunlin's eyes were bloodshot and she looked like a madman. She has always kept in mind her husband's last wish, wanting to revitalize the Li family, and dreaming of bringing the Li family of Longcheng back to its peak. But now it seems that the Li family may die in her hands. After the words fell, Zhang Chunlin walked tremblingly toward the door on crutches. That thin figure looked extremely lonely. Seeing this scene, many people felt emotional. When Zhang Chunlin married into the Li family had already passed its prime. She had only heard people talk about the glory of the Li family, but had never seen it with her own eyes. But she dedicated her life to the glorious Li family that she had never seen before. As the daughter-in-law, Lu Yuehua felt some inexplicable feelings and signaled several bodyguards of the Li family to follow quickly and escort the old lady away. Li Tianming and others saw that Zhang Chunlin had made up her mind. Like an eggplant beaten by frost, she wilted and slumped on the chair, showing her ugly appearance. However, Ye Wuwei was not in the mood to see their ugly behavior at this time. Because there is something wrong with Nian's state. At this moment, the little guy gritted his teeth and his big, bright eyes were filled with tears. She was fighting against something with all her strength. Ye Wuwei carefully held her in his arms and said worriedly, Nian, what's wrong? Nian huddled up and said firmly, Dad, I don't feel any pain. It doesn't hurt when I say it, but my words are choppy. Moreover, her body was getting hotter and hotter, her pink face soon turned red, and her forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Ye Wuwei's heart was in his throat and he asked nervously, Qingyan, was Nian like this before? Li Qingyan nodded sadly, held Nian's hand, and said tremblingly, yes. Every time you get sick, you pass through the gate of hell. I'm really afraid that I won't make it through. Hearing this, Ye Wuwei quickly stood up and said, go back to the hospital quickly. He carefully held Nian and walked out quickly while maintaining stability, as if he was holding a rare treasure. Li Qingyan trotted to keep up, no longer paying attention to the Li family. The four heavenly kings and Ye Lu, who were concerned about their little niece, just glared at everyone in the Li family threateningly and followed them quickly. Ma Fiyang's heart moved, and he said in a deep voice to the entourage beside him, get my medical team over as quickly as possible, quickly. After that, he followed Ye Wuwei and others. This little girl is the little princess of the Temple of Death. If we can contribute to the little princess's illness, Fei Yang Group's takeoff will be just around the corner. After Ye Wuwei and others left, the banquet hall fell silent. All the guests had a premonition that big changes were about to happen in Longchen's business world, so they left in a hurry, preparing to make a fortune from the next changes. Fei Yang Group has cancelled so many cooperations with the Wei family, which is a big piece of cake. Longcheng First Hospital. Nian Nian was lying on the hospital bed with an ice pack on her forehead, and her clothes were soaked with sweat. There was a silver needle inserted into the ring finger of her left and right hands. The silver needle is hollow and is slowly dripping blood. Her face is no longer as rosy as before and is gradually returning to normal. An old doctor in a white coat looked at the instruments on the bedside table, breathed a sigh of relief, and said, "The vital signs are returning to stability. This disaster is over." After saying that, the old doctor looked at an old man in black beside the bed and said respectfully, "Could you be the famous Dr. Mo? I have several stubborn illnesses that are difficult to deal with. Even the most advanced instruments cannot find out the cause. Can divine Dr. Mo give me some advice?" Miracle Dr. Mo shook his head slightly. "I am not worthy of the word miracle doctor. I just learned some Qigong techniques in the early years. We will discuss other issues after the little girl's condition stabilizes." The old doctor nodded repeatedly and walked out of the ward with a group of white coats. Ye Wuwei walked up to divine Dr. Mo and clasped his hands in his fists. "Thank you very much, divine Dr. Mo, for helping me this time. If there is an assignment in the future, Ye will never refuse." Divine Dr. Mo smiled faintly. "Mr. Ye, you're welcome. I really want to thank you. You'd better thank Furukawa. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have come to Longcheng." Hearing this, Ye Wuwei turned around and looked at the first-rank Grand Master Gu He, bowed solemnly and said, "Thank you, Mr. Gu." Furukawa was startled, turned sideways to avoid the gift, and said nervously, "I can't do it, I can't do it. I promised to find a way before, so naturally I won't break my promise." Furukawa did not dare to accept Ye Wuwei's gift. As a martial artist and a first-class grandmaster, Furukawa knew very well how high Ye Wuwei's martial arts had reached. Ordinary warriors saw him like a frog in a well peeping at the sun and moon. A first-grade grandmaster saw him like a mayfly looking up at the sky. Seeing Gu He like this, Ye Wuwei said nothing more. "However, I have made up my mind that if these two people ask for anything in the future, the Temple of Punishment will not just sit idly by." When Nian Nian's condition gradually stabilized, the four heavenly kings called Ye Wuwei to the balcony. Tianwei frowned and said, "Brother, Nian Nian survived this time, there is no guarantee that there will be no problems in the future. The three of us will leave Daxia immediately and go to the western continent to lay out our plans. We will definitely find out the source organization as quickly as possible." Tian Shang and Tian Sui nodded in agreement. Tianxia said in a deep voice, "Brother, why don't you let me take charge of this matter myself? On Daxia's side, choose one of the three to take charge." Feeling the four people's concern for Nian Nian, Ye Wuwei felt warm in his heart, but shook his head and said, "No, follow the original plan. Tianxia, you still lead people to lurk in Daxia. Tianwei, please take people to the White Elephant Kingdom. This time we are gathering in large numbers at the Temple of Punishment. The White Elephant Kingdom is not very honest, so go and give them some blood. Tian Shang, please be more careful and go check the source organization. It's a natural sin to take people on a trip to Japan, then return to the United States, and continue to pursue the clues in the United States. The traders within Daxia must be related to the United States." Hearing this, the four heavenly kings straightened their bodies and took orders to leave. Although they have been away from Longja for many years, they still haven't changed the habits they formed back then. Chapter 46. The next 2 days. Dragon City became very lively. Fei Yang Group publicly announced that it would terminate all cooperation with the Wei family. Many leading companies immediately followed up and announced that they would cut off business ties with the Wei family. As a business leader in Zhangzhou, Ma Fei Yang has great influence. After offending Ma Fei Yang, the Wei family could no longer stay in Longcheng. For a time, the Wei family's industry was in turmoil. Many core executives have resigned, and employees are ready to move on. The stock prices of several listed companies controlled by the Wei family plummeted. Overnight, the Wei family was burdened with a large amount of debt, and the entire Wei family was panicked. Li Rumen was criticized and cursed by everyone in the Wei family. No matter where she went, People were pointing fingers at her. From being the envied daughter-in-law of the Wei family to such a situation, Li Rumen was almost driven crazy, and her mental state was on the verge of collapse. The Li family was not spared either. Although Fei Yang Group has not publicly targeted the Li family. However, the Li family's partners have also tacitly severed economic ties with the Li family. Li Group's business has been hit in all directions. The collapse of the Li family happened in a matter of seconds. In addition, there was a piece of gossip that came out from nowhere, which caught the attention of countless people. The powerful Zhao family has provoked an extremely powerful force. Many members of the Zhao family disappeared mysteriously, and even the head of the Zhao family, Zhao Wuji, who was known as the king of Zhangzhou, was missing. The Zhangzhou War Department arrested many people in the Zhao family, and some of them were even killed directly. The few remaining members of the Zhao family are about to move out of Longcheng. Zhangzhou Governor Lu Pianan has sent someone to take over the Zhao family's property and it will be auctioned soon. In Zhangzhou, and even in the entire central Daxia region, countless consortiums heard the news and gathered towards Dragon City. The Zhao family has been in Longcheng for many years, and what they left behind are high-quality industries. If you can eat half of it, you can create a huge high-quality enterprise. Within these 2 days, Yeju made a selection and bought the most luxurious villa in Dragon City. But Nian's body was hot and cold, and she was not completely out of danger yet. For her safety, Ye Wuwei and Li Qingyan stayed in the hospital and did not go to the villa. Li Xian and Lu Yuehua deliver daily meals to the hospital. Since the engagement party, Lu Yuehua's attitude towards Ye Wuwei has improved a lot. They shouted fearless one after another, and the more they watched, the more satisfied they became. Ma Fei Yang, chairman of Fei Yang Group, often goes to the hospital and is very concerned about Nian's condition. He personally sent the wedding plan of the century designed by Fei Yang Group for Ye Wuwei to review. After Ye Wuwei chose one of the plans, the entire Fei Yang Group devoted themselves to creating the wedding of the century. Ye Wuwei kept the wedding of the century secret from Li Qingyan. He wanted to give her a big surprise. Now, Ye Wuwei was sitting beside the hospital bed, telling Nian stories softly. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. Wuwei, Nian, are you hungry? Look what delicious food I made for you today. Before the person arrives, the sound has already arrived. Following the sound of footsteps, Lu Yuehua and Li Xian walked in carrying lunch boxes. Thank you, Grandpa and Grandma. Nian smiled sweetly at Lu Yuehua, very well behaved. Lu Yuehua smiled and narrowed her eyes. Oh, let me see whose child is so sensible. Li Qingyan stepped forward to take the lunch box and took out the food. Then, Ye Wuwei let Li Qingyan eat first, while he fed Nian. During the meal, Lu Yuehua sat next to Li Qingyan and said excitedly, Qingyan, the old lady is really cruel this time. Your uncle's family, aunt's family and your grandfather's nephews were all kicked out of the Li family. The house, car and property in my name have all been taken back. I even ran over to watch the excitement. It was very exciting. Li Qingyan ate silently, listening while eating. After Lu Yuehua finished speaking, Li Qingyan said helplessly, Mom, what does this have to do with us? I'm no longer a member of the Li family, so don't join in the fun. As soon as these words came out, Li Xian, who had been silent until now, looked slightly strange. Lu Yuehua also smiled awkwardly, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Ye Wuwei, who was feeding Nian, saw some clues. Ye Wuwei kept moving his hands and said calmly, Uncle, Aunt, when you go to Li's house, it should be more than just watching the fun. Hearing this, Li Qingyan slowly stopped eating. She stared at Li Xian and Lu Yuehua, frowned and said, Mom, Dad, are you hiding something from me? Lu Yuehua turned Li Xian with her elbow and motioned for the latter to speak. Li Xian touched his nose and said in a muffled voice, there is something wrong. That. He hesitated and couldn't explain why. Lu Yuehua's eyes widened, look at your potential. Immediately, she turned her head to look at Li Qingyan and said with a smile, Qingyan, that's it. Actually, your grandma invited us both there. The Li family has been in trouble recently, and the old lady has fallen ill from anxiety. She drove your uncle and the others away as quickly as possible. She actually wanted to take our family back. Li Qingyan frowned, I won't go back. It is impossible to say that there is no resentment. Over the years, Li Qingyan has bowed her head to many people because of Nian. Only he did not bow his head to Zhang Chunlin. She just wanted to prove that her choice was right and she was willing to bear all the consequences of her choice. Seeing Li Qingyan's resolute attitude, Lu Yuehua sighed, "Actually, your dad and I are both inclined to go back. The old lady also wants you to come back, but she can't open her mouth to you. Today, your third uncle's family is the only member of the main line of the Li family. But your third uncle is away from home all year round and doesn't care about the Li family's affairs at all. The old lady promised that as long as our family returns, she will let us manage the Li group. She doesn't care about anything." Hearing this, Li Qingyan looked surprised. Over the years, Grandma has held all the power in her hands and is unwilling to let go. How can you be so generous now? Let my dad be the head of the Li family. Li Qingyan asked in surprise. Li Xian blushed and shook his head. Lu Yuehua pursed her lips and said, "Do you think your dad has that ability? It may be that the old lady noticed some of your shining points. She wants you to manage the Li group, or even let you be the head of the Li family. I hope you go. After all, there is a platform and it will be much faster to start. There are rumors outside that the Zhao family has offended people they shouldn't have offended and that many properties are about to be auctioned. If I can catch this, I'll make a lot of money. I've been feeling aggrieved for so many years, and I still want to be proud of you." "Me?" Li Qingyan's beautiful eyes widened and she was stunned. Chapter 47. Li Qingyan's face was full of disbelief. "I once made the Li family the laughing stock of Dragon City. What shining points can my grandma value?" After thinking for a moment, Li Qingyan said in a deep voice, "Mom, it may not be me that grandma values, but him." While speaking, Li Qingyan's eyes moved to Ye Wuwei. The Li family is now surrounded by enemies and a large amount of business has been cut off. This must be due to the influence of Chairman Ma of Fei Yang Group. Grandma asked our family to go back, probably to send a signal to the outside world. The Li family has terminated its antagonistic relationship with Fei Yang Group. Li Qingyan's conjecture was not unreasonable. Li Xian and Lu Yuehua looked at each other and felt that this statement made sense. Ye Wuwei nodded approvingly and said, "There is probably a reason for this. However, it is very likely that you are very good and really value you. No matter what decision you make, I will support you. Auntie just said that a large number of high-quality properties of the Zhao family are about to be auctioned. This is a good opportunity. I know an influential person in Zhangzhou. If you want to participate, I can go say hello." The person Ye Wuwei mentioned was Lu Pianan, the governor of Zhangzhou. If Li Qingyan is willing, Ye Wuwei will fully support her. Hearing these words, Lu Yuehua's eyes lit up and he quickly persuaded, "Qingyan, Wuwei is right. This is a good opportunity. Don't be afraid to start a business abroad. Most of the resources are abroad, and the country must keep up and keep pace. Let's return to the Li family, take control of the Li group, and then use the Li family's financial resources to acquire the Zhao family's high-quality assets and grow stronger step by step." Lu Yuehua's eyes shone, and she became more and more excited as she spoke. Li Qingyan rolled her eyes and said speechlessly, "Mom, it's not as simple as you said. Don't be afraid to say hello. Even if someone helps you, you still owe someone a favor. By treating Nian, Wuwei owes Mr. Gu and Divine Dr. Mo a favor. I don't want him to owe more and more." Hearing this, Ye Wuwei smiled and shook his head, "Qingyan, don't worry too much. According to your own ideas, I support them. It's not a bad thing to owe favors. When things come, there will be exchanges. When things come and go, business will be done." As soon as these words came out, Lu Yuehua and Li Xian nodded repeatedly. Both of them want to return to the Li family and slap those guys who look down on others in the face. Li Qingyan remained silent, struggling in her heart. Buzz buzz. Li Xian's cell phone suddenly vibrated. Taking it out, Li Xian looked surprised. "Why did the third child suddenly call me?" Zhang Chunlin has 3 sons. The eldest is Li Tianming, the second is Li Xian, and the third is Li Jian. Li Jian is rarely in Dragon City, and is always with the Li clan in the divine capital. Lu Yuehua also looked puzzled and said, "Could it be that he heard that Li Tianming's family was expelled from the Li family and came here to investigate the crime? He has a better relationship with Li Tianming, so he will definitely favor their family." Li Xian nodded and pressed the answer button. Soon, a voice full of gunpowder came from the loudspeaker, "Second brother, I heard that you made Mom so angry that she fell ill." Lu Yuehua pursed her lips in dissatisfaction and snorted angrily, "Third brother, what you said is really interesting. It's obviously your eldest brother and his family who made the old lady angry. How come you put the blame on us?" Li Jian on the other end of the phone looked gloomy and said in a deep voice, "Second sister-in-law, I have heard about the engagement party. I don't favor anyone. You and big brother both have reasons. However, I am disgusted by inviting outsiders to deal with my family and persecute my elders. I heard that mom can't bear the pressure and wants to take your family home and let Qingyan take charge of the Li group. You can go back to the Li family, but Qingyan can't even think about taking charge of the Li group. She has experienced too many things over the years and her psychology has been distorted. If she is allowed to take over the Li group, who knows what will happen." As soon as these words came out, Li Xian and Lu Yuehua immediately turned dark. Lu Yuehua pinched her waist with both hands and said angrily, "Li Jian, if you can't speak, just shut up. No one will think you are mute. My daughter, it's not your turn to make irresponsible remarks. You are the only one with a twisted mind. Your whole family is also mentally twisted." Li Xian was also very uncomfortable. He took a deep breath and said coldly, "Lao San, is it appropriate for an elder like you to say these things? Light smoke is very good, I don't need to worry about it. Just such a daughter, whom I have loved dearly since she was a child. After going through the most difficult years, things are starting to get better now, but someone comes to pour cold water on them, which makes the old couple very unhappy." Li Jian on the other side looked gloomy and said coldly, "Second brother, it doesn't sound nice, but it's the truth. Not to mention psychological distortion, is she capable of managing the Li group well? In 2 days, it will be my mother's 70th birthday, and I will rush back from the capital of God. To tell you the truth, Huer is about to be promoted to a 1-star general in the Central Region War Department. The opportunity for my Li family to take off has come. When the time comes, I will announce the good news at the birthday banquet. With Huer's qualifications, he must be the head of the Li family. Only he can lead our Dragon City Li family back to the top." The Huer in Li Jian's mouth is his eldest son Li Hu. Li Hu is a commander of the Central Region War Department, and he did not expect to be promoted to a 1-star general. The Central Region War Department is located in the Chengdu, the largest city in the central region of Daxia. The Central Region War Department ordered the war departments of several states in the central region of Daxia, including the Zhangzhou War Department. Li Hu became a general in the Central Region War Department. Even if he was only a 1-star general, he was someone that countless people looked up to. When Li Hu was mentioned, Li Jian's tone could not hide his pride. Hearing the word Chengdu, Ye Wuwei's eyes narrowed. Back then, he was seriously injured after being attacked and killed in Chengdu, and fled all the way to Zhongcheng, where he met Li Qingyan. "After the matters here in Zhangzhou are settled, I have to go to Chengdu. It's time to settle the accounts of that year. Then we'll see." Lu Yuehua said sourly, and then hung up the phone. She turned her head to look at Li Qingyan and said, "Forget it, if you don't want to go back to the family, don't go back. Li Hu is about to become the general of the Central Region War Department. It's better not to go against their family." Although she was feeling aggrieved, Lu Yuehua still pretended to be relaxed. This pretending to be relaxed made Li Qingyan feel worried. Li Xian's eyes darkened, he sighed and secretly blamed himself for being useless. Seeing everyone's expressions, Ye Wuwei said, "Don't be so frustrated, it's just a 1-star general, it's no big deal. If you want to go back to the Li family, you can go back at any time." As soon as these words came out, Li Qingyan and the others were stunned. Just a 1-star warrior? Even if it is only 1 star, he is still a great Xia warrior. Li Qingyan made a serious face and said, "Don't be disrespectful to the great Xia general." Ye Wuwei smiled faintly, "Don't be so nervous, the general is not a god, there is nothing you can't say. I made some meritorious deeds in the army and was named a 9-star general. It was only later that I left the military for some reasons and went abroad, so I gave up all honors and medals." Ye Wuwei spoke easily, but his plain words stirred up turmoil in the hearts of Li Qingyan and the others. 9-star warrior, that is the ultimate warrior. Further up, you will be the marshal. Li Xian and Lu Yuehua looked at Ye Wuwei blankly, not expecting Ye Wuwei to be so fierce before. After a long time, Li Qingyan came back to her senses and asked in surprise, "Then why did you give up all this?" Ye Wuwei shook his head, "Confidentiality policy, we can't talk about it." I just want to tell you that I still have some connections in the War Department, so don't worry too much. Li Qingyan nodded, looked at Lu Yuehua, and said solemnly, Mom, I am willing to return to the Li family and take charge of the Li group. She has to do things that others don't want her to do, and do them better. Lu Yuehua nodded in surprise and joy, his eyes constantly moving on Ye Wuwei and Li Qingyan. This is truly a treasure to be son-in-law. Qingyan's vision is not bad. Lu Yuehua and Li Xian looked at each other, their eye circles a little red. It's dawn. Chapter 48. Dragon City. Wei Family Lobby. Master, Tianlong Group terminated the contract with us and asked us to pay the debt. Master, debt collectors have surrounded our Wei family and want you to come forward in person. The head of the family, the governor, has not seen our Wei family members at all and does not want to help. Wei Wuxian, the head of the Wei family, was sitting on a chair, exhausted both mentally and physically. In just 2 days, Wei Wuxian gained a lot of wrinkles on his face, and his thick black hair turned into a full head of white hair. Wei Wuxian let out a long sigh and said quietly, I, Wei Wuxian, have had a glorious life, but I never thought that I would bring my family to such a predicament. If the Wei family collapses, how can I have the face to meet my ancestors? To tell the outside world, just say that I am still unconscious and wait until I wake up. Wei Wuxian also knew that procrastinating would not solve the problem, but now he could only procrastinate for 1 day. The Wei family suffered a sudden change, and all the friends who had been there were trying to avoid it. Now that the Wei family's capital chain is broken, Wei Wuxian is helpless in the face of this massive debt. A group of Wei family members were sitting on both sides of the lobby, all with sad faces and many worries. Many people's eyes flickered and they were already planning their escape. Once the Wei family collapses, they will have no choice but to find their own way out and sweep away the snow in front of them. Wei Dong and Li Rumen stood by the door, their expressions were sluggish, and they no longer had the same air as before. Several elders of the Wei family hesitated to speak, and kept exchanging glances with each other. After some eye contact, one of the clan elders sat up straight and tentatively said, Master, why don't you contact Chu Shui? You are brothers and sisters. Our Wei family has been forced into a desperate situation. She should not refuse to save her. As soon as these words came out, Wei Wuxian stiffened. Wei Qiushui is his biological sister and the name he least wants to hear. At that time, the family had arranged a marriage for Wei Qiushui, but Wei Qiushui fell in love with a vulgar martial artist and a poor boy dressed in rags. Wei Wuxian went to find the poor boy and was beaten up. In order to cut off the contact between Wei Qiushui and that poor boy, the Wei family locked Wei Qiushui in the house and had Wei Wuxian deliver 3 meals a day. No matter how hard Wei Qiushui begged, Wei Wuxian didn't agree. One day, when Wei Wuxian was delivering lunch, he found that Wei Qiushui had disappeared. He followed the traces and caught up with Wei Qiushui and the poor boy by the Longjiang River. At that time, he was so thirsty that he persuaded his sister to go home. Wei Qiushui just looked at him coldly, hating that he was his brother but didn't support him. Finally, Wei Wuxian let go of his harsh words. If Wei Qiushui doesn't want to go back and insists on running away with someone, then break off the sibling relationship with her and expel her from the Wei family so as not to embarrass the Wei family. Wei Qiushui agreed decisively. And threw the 18-year-old coming-of-age gift given to her by Wei Wuxian into the Longjiang River. The surging river witnessed the separation of a brother and sister. It would be many years before I heard about Wei Qiushui again. At that time, Wei Qiushui was already the young lady praised by everyone in the Kui family in the capital city. City of Gods. The ancient capital of 13 dynasties. One of the main birthplaces of the Bactrian civilization, the Xia dynasty, the beginning of the Bactrian civilization, was here. As an ancient capital with extremely rich heritage, Daxia has many clans with surnames here. The Kui family in the divine capital is even more outstanding among them. Looking at the entire Daxia, the Kui family in the divine capital can be ranked among the first-class families. It is estimated that only a few top wealthy families in the imperial capital are qualified to suppress them. An existence of that level is an existence that countless families can only look up to. In such a high-ranking family, with a profound background, the whole family has devoted its efforts to cultivate the younger generations, and one after another famous people have emerged. It can be said that there are many talents. Whether in politics or business, there are people from the Kui family in the capital of God. Now, Wei Qiushui is the wife of the patriarch of the Kui clan in the divine capital. The poor boy who was a member of the Kui family back then was already the leader of the Kui family with outstanding fighting ability. Everyone in the Wei family knows that the 3 words Wei Qiushui are taboo for Wei Wuxian. However, now that the Wei family has been forced into a desperate situation, the elders can no longer care so much. Impossible. I have severed ties with her long ago and I will not contact her. Wei Wuxian shouted loudly and became furious. In his heart, Wei Qiushui has always been a thorn in his side. Nowadays, when the Wei family always talks about Wei Qiushui, they use this thorn to pierce his heart. Master, it's time to put aside the grudges that happened so many years ago. Yes. Facts have proved that Chu Shui's choice back then was not wrong. If the Kui family from the capital of God comes to help, then the predicament of our Wei family will definitely be solved. The collapse of the Wei family is a situation that no one wants to see. The head of the family must put the overall situation first. A group of elders from the Wei family tried to persuade him with sincerity, and their words were drooling. Someone else winked at Wei Dong and asked him to help him speak. Wei Dong hesitated for a moment and said, "Dad, you and your aunt are brothers and sisters. How can brothers and sisters hold grudges throughout their lives? Maybe my aunt wants to find you, but she can't open her mouth because of her feelings. For the sake of the family, just give it a try. If the Wei family breaks up, how can we live up to our ancestors?" As a son, Wei Dong understands Wei Wuxian's weaknesses very well. Wei Wuxian has a strong sense of family and is afraid of disgracing his ancestors. Hearing this, Wei Wuxian hesitated. His eyes were erratic and his expression was constantly changing. A few minutes later, Wei Wuxian gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "I'll send someone to the city of gods to try." Hearing this, everyone felt a little more relaxed. An elder smiled lightly and took out a small piece of paper. "Master, I have already sent someone to find out Chu Shui's contact information. Call her yourself." After receiving the small note, Wei Wuxian took out his cell phone, his arms shaking non-stop. After doing some ideological work, Wei Wuxian mustered up the courage to make the call. "Which one?" A somewhat familiar voice came from the speaker. This is the voice of younger sister Wei Qiushui. She must have matured a lot, and there is a lot less childishness in her voice. "It's me." Wei Wuxian's voice was low and vibrating. There was silence for a long time, and finally a word came, "Elder brother." Hearing this brother, Wei Wuxian's nose felt a little sore. He lowered his head and uttered one word from his nose, No one can see Wei Wuxian's facial expression, let alone what he is thinking. There was silence on the other end of the phone again. After a full 2 minutes, Wei Qiushui's voice sounded again, "I heard about the Wei family. I will handle that Fei Yang group. In a few days, the Zhao family's high-quality properties will be auctioned, and I will go to Dragon City." "Okay." Wei Wuxian nodded, "I'll wait for you at home." Immediately, the phone hung up. Everyone in the Wei family breathed a sigh of relief. No one in the Wei family, including Wei Wuxian himself, could have imagined the weight of Wei Qiushui's words. No more than 10 minutes. Ma Fei Yang's phone was bombarded with calls. Fei Yang Group faces an unprecedented crisis. Chapter 49. Fei Yang Group. Chairman's Office. Chairman, a large partner that we have cooperated with for 8 years suddenly has a seizure. He wants to cancel the cooperation with us even if he is losing money. The chairman, Lingnan Shenlong Group, suddenly said that a major safety hazard was found in a project we developed before, and asked us to pay compensation. Chairman, our stock has been targeted, and suddenly a huge amount of money has been bought to set the stage for us. The calls from the heads of various departments came into the chairman's office, and Ma Fei Yang's face became increasingly ugly. Having been in the business world for many years, Ma Fei Yang has a very keen sense of business. In business operations, it is normal to have problems. However, the problem is so concentrated and the scale is so vast, which is very abnormal. Ma Fei Yang knew that his Fei Yang group was being targeted. And the other party must be a group whose assets, influence, resources, etc. are 10 times or even dozens of times that of Fei Yang group. To mobilize so many forces to besiege Fei Yang group at the same time, it is unimaginable how terrifying the energy of the mastermind behind the scenes is. This kind of attack coming from all directions made Ma Fei Yang a little breathless. During this period of time, it seems that I haven't offended any big forces. Why was it suddenly under siege? If Fei Yang Group's own problems affected Hall Master Yi's wedding of the century, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, a layer of cold sweat broke out in Ma Fiyang's vest. Check, use all your power to find out who is behind this. We must find out the reason within today. If it doesn't work, contact the governor's office and ask them to come forward and inquire about the situation. Ma Fiyang was so anxious that he was sweating profusely and yelled at several board members in front of the desk. Okay, let's do it right away. Several board members with high prestige in the Longcheng business community did not dare to show any emotion and rushed out of the chairman's office. Everyone is aware of the seriousness of the problem. The forces that can mobilize so many forces to besiege Fiyang Group should not be in Zhangzhou, and may not sell the face of the governor's office. An hour later, several board members returned to the chairman's office with grim faces. I've searched all the ways and can't find the reason. I had a phone call with the chairman of Shenlong Group. That BD was talking about him and didn't tell the truth at all. In the end, he gave a subtle hint that I didn't dare to tell him. I begged my grandpa and sued my grandma everywhere, and I humbled myself, but I still couldn't find who was behind this. Several board members looked dejected and felt a sense of powerlessness in their hearts. Not talking about Dragon City, looking at the entire Zhangzhou business community, these people have a pivotal position. But this time, everything hit a wall. Hearing these words, Ma Fiyang broke into a layer of cold sweat again. How terrifying is the man behind the Fiyang Group? No information has been leaked at all. Ma Fiyang clenched his fists, veins popped out, and said in a cold voice, "Where is the governor's office?" A board member said solemnly, "I haven't heard back yet, I'm probably still asking for help." Grass. Ma Fiyang punched the desk with his fist, and his lungs almost exploded with anger. Who the hell is behind this? After being beaten so hard, I still don't know who my opponent is. Ma Fiyang had never fought such a frustrating battle. Chairman, something big happened. The supplies purchased for the wedding of the century were intercepted. The flowers ordered by Miao Zhang, the special stage customized by Long Zhou, and the professional team hired by Imperial Capital, all had accidents and could not arrive on time. The general manager of Fiyang Group rushed into the chairman's office, out of breath from exhaustion. What? Ma Fiyang exclaimed and stood up suddenly. It actually really affected the wedding of the century. Hurry up and find a way to make up for it. We must not delay the wedding. If I delay the wedding of the century, I can't make up for it even if I die 100 times. Ma Fiyang's face was full of anxiety and his head was dizzy. Fiyang Group suffered a heavy blow, but he could still accept it. But if something went wrong at the wedding of the century, he really didn't know how to explain it to Ye Wuwei. Buzz buzz. At this time, Ma Fiyang's cell phone suddenly vibrated. Ma Fiyang lowered his head and saw that it was Wang Biao, the king of Dragon City. Press the answer button. Ma Fiyang, what the hell are you doing? What happened to the wedding? If you delay the wedding date, I will never be done with you. Hurry up and do what you have to do, don't drag me into the water. As soon as the call was connected, Wang Biao became violent. The mother content is extremely high. After being scolded, Ma Fiyang felt extremely aggrieved, but he couldn't speak back. Ma Fiyang was speechless, so anxious that he didn't know what to say. Speak, don't pretend to be dead for me. Wang Biao was also very anxious, for fear of delaying the wedding of the century. Ma Fiyang took a deep breath, gritted his teeth and said, "Old Wang, Fiyang Group has been attacked, and I'm in a damn hurry too. Someone is messing with me. I haven't found out who the person is yet. I'm like a headless fly now. Please help me find out who is unhappy with me. How dare I delay the wedding?" What? Wang Biao on the other side of the phone was very surprised. He didn't expect this to be the reason. After a few seconds of silence, Wang Biao said in a deep voice, "This matter may be related to the Wei family. I received news more than 10 minutes ago that the debt collectors outside the Wei family suddenly left. The group boss who previously severed cooperation with the Wei family has now come to apologize in person. The Wei family may have invited forces outside Zhangzhou to take action, so be careful. If it doesn't work, please ask Mr. Liu to take action. No matter what, we cannot delay the wedding of the century." As the uncrowned king of the underground world of Dragon City, Wang Biao has eyes and ears all over Dragon City and is very well informed. Hearing this, Ma Fiyang stiffened. No matter how hard you calculate, you can't imagine that this matter has anything to do with the Wei family. Thank you, Lao Wang, I'll check right away. Ma Fei thanked him and quickly hung up the phone. The top priority is to find out who is helping the Wei family. At the same time, the situation must be reported to Mr. Lu truthfully. If something goes wrong, neither he nor Wang Biao can afford it. Thang City. The core high-end residential community of Longcheng. Families of all sizes, group bosses, dignitaries, and capable people all live in Thang City. The house prices here are already hundreds of thousands per square meter. It is more like an area where powerful people live than a community. Thang City is built on Thang Mountain, the only mountain in the center of Long City. The entire Thang City is built on the mountain and is divided into 3 floors. As a third-rate family in Longcheng, the Li family could only live at the bottom of Shenglong City. At the top of Thang City, there is only one building, Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace can overlook the entire Dragon City and is rumored to be extremely luxurious. However, its sky-high selling price has caused no one to take notice of it for many years. At this time, Ye Wuwei and his party arrived outside Shenglong City. Because Li Qingyan decided to return to the Li family, Ye Wuwei accompanied him to Shenglong City. As soon as everyone got out of the car, Ye Lu, who was in charge of driving, received a call from Ma Fei. After listening to Ma Fei's explanation of the situation, Ye Lu frowned slightly. He quickly came to Ye Wuwei's side and whispered, "Boss, there was an accident in the preparations for the wedding of the century." Chapter 50. There was an accident at the wedding? Ye Wuwei frowned. He felt that he owed Li Qingyan too much and was determined to make up for it by giving Li Qingyan the most romantic and grand wedding. There is no room for accidents in this wedding. Ye Wuwei said in a deep voice, "What is the specific situation?" Ye Liui 510 told the situation just reported by Ma Fei. Fei group has been sniped. Now it is besieged by all parties and is under great economic pressure. All kinds of supplies prepared for the wedding were also intercepted. All this may have been done by someone hired by the Wei family. Wei family? Ye Wuwei narrowed his eyes. The Wei family can actually make a comeback. Wuwei, what are you two muttering about? Follow me quickly. At this time, Lu Yuehua's voice sounded. Li Qingyan, Lu Yuehua, and Li Xian were walking in front. Seeing that Ye Wuwei didn't follow, they turned around to remind them. Good. Ye Wuwei smiled and nodded. Then he walked forward and said, "Check who is helping the Wei family. If we only compete in business, let the Yeju gang help us fly. If you dare to take action in reality, you will be destroyed directly." Yeju is responsible for the commercial operations of the Temple of Death in the Daxia region. It can be condensed into 3 words, buy. Because if the Temple of God destroys any underground force outside the territory, the property seized and the profits generated from occupying the territory are beyond many people's imagination. The money came in so quickly this way that Ye Wuwei couldn't even explain the origin of this huge asset to Li Qingyan. We can only imprint a good impression of the Temple of God in Li Qingyan's mind first, and then tell Li Qingyan the real situation bit by bit. It's a little easier to accept that way. Every time the Temple of Punishment gets a huge amount of property, in addition to supporting the powerful people of the Temple of Punishment, the rest is used for investment. Yeju's mission is to buy in Daxia. When you see a company with potential or an industry worth investing in, just throw money into it. This will not only help Daxia's economy, but also make the Temple of God's Punishment's revenue flow steadily. Fighting to support fighting will eventually lead to fatigue. Yes. I will send a message to Zaiju right away. Ye Lu nodded and immediately took out his mobile phone to contact Yeju. Yeju is currently taking care of Nian in the hospital, so he didn't come with him. Ye Wuwei looked at the environment of Shenglong City, turned his head and asked, "Is the villa that Yeju bought right here? You can go check out the new house after you finish your errands." Okay. Ye Lu nodded solemnly. Then, Ye Wuwei quickly followed Li Qingyan and the others, and went straight to a courtyard composed of several villas. The old housekeeper of the Li family smiled and said, "Second master, you are back." Li Xian nodded and said excitedly, "Where's mom?" The old butler said from one side of his body, "I heard that you are willing to go home. I have been waiting for you in the lobby. Come in quickly." As he said that, the old housekeeper looked at Li Qingyan, his eyes were a little moist, and he choked with sobs, "Miss, welcome home." Once upon a time, Li Qingyan was famous in Dragon City for her intelligence and beauty. It is one of the 4 beauties of Dragon City. At that time, she was regarded as the hope of rise by the Li family. Almost everyone thinks that she will marry a good family, live a happy life, and lead the rise of the Li family. However, how high is the praise? How miserable it is when you fall. How many people look up to you with envy when you are lifted up, and how many people laugh and mock you when you fall down. Since Li Qingyan was expelled from the Li family, the old housekeeper has never seen her again. The young and stubborn little girl back then has now lost her youthfulness and become much more mature. Hello, Grandpa Chen. Li Qingyan smiled and nodded in response. The old housekeeper's surname was Chen. He had lived in the Li family for many years and was already married. Okay, okay. The old housekeeper nodded repeatedly, come in quickly. As he spoke, his eyes fell on Ye Wuwei and asked with a smile, is this my uncle? Li Qingyan's cheeks turned pink and she said shyly, Grandpa Chen, you're not married yet. Seeing this, the old housekeeper smiled slightly, it should be soon. My uncle is very talented, and my eldest lady has good taste. Hearing this, Ye Wuwei smiled and nodded, hello, Grandpa Chen. It was obvious that the old housekeeper was a good family member, so he called him after Li Qingyan. Please come in quickly. The old housekeeper was very enthusiastic and his eyes were filled with relief. Immediately, a group of people entered the lobby. Sitting at the main seat in the lobby was Zhang Chunlin. On the chairs on both sides were several respected old men from the Li family. Further down, there are several talkers from the Li family who serve as senior executives in the Li group. What is surprising is that in addition to these people, Wei Dong and Li Rumen are also there. Li Rumen crossed his arms and looked sideways at Ye Wuwei and others with a sneer on his face. When Ye Wuwei and others entered the lobby, Li Rumen immediately stood up and said coldly, Grandma, I have made the situation very clear. Now that both of our families have been expelled from the Li family, it's up to you to choose who comes back. She is there without me, there is me without her. After saying that, Li Rumen looked at Li Qingyan and others mockingly, waiting for a good show. Wei Dong sat on the chair with a straight face and paid no attention to the young and old of the family. With the support of the Kui family in Chengdu, they felt that they were on their feet again. Zhang Chunlin has aged a lot in the past 2 days, with a sickly pale look on her face. Hearing this, Zhang Chunlin's face turned cold and she said in a cold voice, get out. You get carried away when you have a backer. What big things can you achieve? Letting you come back will only bring the Li family into the quagmire. As soon as these words came out, Li Rumen and Wei Dong's expressions changed and they looked at Zhang Chunlin in disbelief. Before Ye Wuwei and others arrived, they had already told that the Wei family had received the support of the Kui family in the divine capital. He never expected that Zhang Chunlin would choose Li Qingyan's family in this situation. Wei Dong stood up suddenly and said fiercely, then wait and see how the Li family is defeated. From now on, there will be no more Li family in Dragon City. Let's go. After that, he took Li Rumen and walked out. When passing by Li Qingyan, Li Rumen snorted coldly, but did not dare to say anything obscene because Ye Wuwei was beside him. Those two knocked out front teeth are a lesson from the past. Li Qingyan ignored Li Rumen, looked at Zhang Chunlin, and called softly, Grandma, I'm back. Zhang Chunlin's eyes were wet, and she walked tremblingly in front of Li Qingyan with a cane, grabbed the latter's hand, and choked with sobs, if I could withstand the pressure back then, you wouldn't have to suffer so much. Blame me, blame me. I'm sorry for your family. In the past few years since you left, I have seen many things clearly. It will be good to come back, it will be good to come back. Hearing this, Li Qingyan's nose felt sour, and a complex emotion surged into her heart. She never felt that there was anything wrong with her insistence back then, and now she finally got an apology. The last crux in her heart was slowly solved. Subsequently, witnessed by several respected elders from the Li family, Li Qingyan's family officially returned to the Li family. Zhang Chunlin introduced several speakers to Li Qingyan on the spot and asked Li Qingyan to serve as the general manager of Li Group. The most important thing is to transfer her voice on the Li Group's board of directors to Li Qingyan in the form of a contract. After doing all this, since Nian was still in the hospital, Ye Wuwei, Li Qingyan and Lu Yuehua left the Li family, while Li Xian stayed. As soon as he left the front door of Li's house, Ye Wuwei frowned. Because Li Rumen and Wei Dong hadn't left yet and were waiting for them outside Li's house. Li Rumen didn't leave, but was waiting for the afternoon of war. As soon as Ye Wuwei and the others came out, Li Rumen sneered, Li Qingyan, even if you take over the Li group, you will only take over a lot of big trouble. You used to be regarded as the hope of the Li family. I'm waiting to see how the Li group will be ruined in your hands. Wei Dong is about to take over as the general manager of Wei Group. I hope you can stay in our hands for a few more days. It would be meaningless if you fall down too soon. Hearing this, Ye Wuwei and Li Qingyan ignored her. Lu Yuehua wanted to retaliate a few words, but seeing that her daughter didn't say anything, she thought that she should also improve her level, so she held back. This completely indifferent attitude made Li Rumen almost jump in anger. She waited for so long to issue a challenge, but in the end, they ignored her at all. Become a clown on the spot. At this time, Ye Lu came from a distance, came to Ye Wuwei, and handed out a small box. Ye Wuwei took the box and took out an exquisite gold necklace with an exquisitely crafted key hanging on it. Qingyan, this is the first gift I give you. Do you like it? Li Qingyan's face was full of surprise and she nodded vigorously, it looks good. Is the other half a small lock? It's with you. Ye Wuwei smiled slightly, this is the key to our new house. Locked on the door of room 1 on Shenglong Road. Li Rumen, who was not far away, laughed out loud. Li Rumen laughed heartily and said with a smile, you are bragging, can you make a draft first? Do you know where room 1 on Shenglong Road is? Room 1, Thanglong Road, is in Thanglong City. It is the building that is located at the highest point of Shenglong Mountain and is known to everyone in the entire Dragon City, Dragon Palace. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.